Hey Carolyn, what's happening?
Nothing much these past well, that's not true. Everything's good, all things considered. How about you?
Yeah, things are good. I mean, all things considered, things have been fairly quiet, which, is always really good. So
Good,
it's nice to be able to
good.
get some rest and relax a little bit and, that kind of stuff. So yeah, can't
Absolutely.
complain.
Good, good, good.
So we decided to do this space as more like of a talk because Carolyn is having a spiritual crisis. Sorry to laugh, Carolyn, but
No, it's okay.
I've been in spiritual crisis mode for at least since 2022, like late 2022. So I think it's just now sinking in the seriousness of what these things are all about. So it was kind of more of a conversation, but
Yeah, yeah.
anybody's welcome to come up and speak, jump in, ask questions, you can even ask anything off topic. But yeah, I think what happened, Carolyn, I sent Carolyn some of Malanga's research, and Malanga is an Italian researcher. Unfortunately, it's harder to get his material because he speaks Italian. And so people have translated it, and there's a gentleman I'm in touch with who uses AI to translate, and then he also speaks Italian, I believe. And so he starts translating some of the stuff, and it's really dark, and it can test. It definitely tested me spiritually. And I think, Carolyn, you just had a bit of a crisis over this last week. If you want to talk about it, and we can get into it.
Yeah, I actually did. I was, to be honest, I had fissures in my faith. I'm not going to lie. I had fissures, and I thought, no, 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 no. Um, it's all good. I'm good. I'm all good. This is good. This is just this will be okay. This will be okay. And then fissure got a little wider when you hosted that remote viewing space where they remote viewed the afterlife. Um, that put a big crack. I was like, oh, okay. And then when you posted this information in our chat room, it took me a while to read through it because I was at work. And when I finally was able to sit down and look at it and read through everything, I was quite shook. Not gonna lie, and I had to be quiet there for a little bit, and then when I came back, we're talking about all of this because I mean we were talking about other things too at the same time. And when I came back, I was, I'm not going to lie, I had tears rolling down my eyes when I told just like, look, I don't know what to think. This one has me shook right down to my core, right down to my core. I was in a very serious crisis, and I still am to a certain extent. Having said that, I did go back, and thank God for Bibles being online because all of my stuff is still packed up um, from our recent excursion. And and I honestly just don't know where my Bible is. So I went online to one of the Bible websites, and I typed in something very specific and read through the scripture that there was one specific passage that I was looking for. And I found it. It came up, and so I was able to calm myself down and just reconnect with myself, with God, with Jesus. And so I am in a much better place. I'm not quite all there that yet, but I'm in a much better place now. But I think it's worth talking about for sure. Because if I'm having a crisis with this information, then I know other people will. And this is just one aspect of this research. So in all the other research that I've done, yes, I've had a couple of crises, my demon crisis, um, and other things, but I managed to, process that and move on and go on about my life. But this one really, I don't know, for some reason, this one just really, really shook me to the core. So I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah, I do too. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I hate to just keep telling my own story over and over, but that's, I guess, why we're here anyway. The same thing happened to me. I was a Christian my entire life, but when I started just being awake and being conscious during these abductions, I started out thinking these were extraterrestrials from outer space. And I don't want anyone to misunderstand. There could be extraterrestrials from outer space. They might even be extraterrestrials from outer space. But whatever these things are not just extraterrestrials from outer space. They are very focused on the human soul. And when I realized that, and I have a whole like an hour video out on the process where they literally walked me down a path. They like held me by the hand and walked me down the path um, that led me out of my religion, which was Christianity, and into like a Luciferian, very Gnostic, and a very black pilled prison planet type of a thought process. It was very deliberate, it was on purpose, and it was structured. It's fascinating how it was structured. And it's too long to get into here and to be able to explain, all of the stuff that happened. But starting out as a Christian and then realizing, oh my gosh, these things are not just like some ET space brother from outer space, studying our planet or even stealing our genetics to help them because they screwed up somewhere. Like they are very heavily invested in the human soul. And when I mean the human soul, there are semantics there. There are people say, oh, this is the energy body, this is your subtle body, this is your astral body, all of this stuff. When I say it, I mean that they were able to transfer everything that I felt was me, my consciousness, and my astral body. So I have been out of my body many, many, many times over my lifetime, beginning as a child. And you can leave your body, and there's nothing about you that ceases to exist. Everything that is you is there. And so that part of me, they were able to take out of my body. And there were times when I was put into other bodies, times I was put into alien bodies, times I was put into a body that seemed like me, but it wasn't quite. I would call it more of the cloned body. Um, I've been in other people's bodies. I've been in random people's bodies who are right here on UFO Twitter. So once I realized this was happening and I started paying attention in the environment, I was able to pick up their motive, some of their motives at least. And it was my impression that they were trying to reverse engineer my soul. Like they were trying to figure out, they were trying to create this out of nothing. So they were trying to figure it out and figure out how to create it. And if they weren't able to do that, the plan was to like hijack it or trap our souls. So when I realized this was happening, this was when I realized, oh crap, these are not just like your space brothers from outer space. So people like to say, oh, she's a Christian and that's why she thinks this is demonic. And it's absolutely untrue. That's just an easy way out. Yes, I was a Christian, but I also thought these were space brothers from outer space who were just here, on our planet to study us or whatever they were. It didn't matter, but it had nothing to do with demons, nothing to do with the human soul, nothing to do with the afterlife. Like I laughed at that stuff. So when I realized this was happening, I was in your shoes, Carolyn, and I'm still there. Uh, my faith was very, very strong. Like I would have put it, I've said before on podcasts, I might as well have been a disciple living at the time of Christ and witnessed all of his miracles, witnessed, his crucifixion and resurrection and watched him go to heaven. Like I might as well have been that person. That's how strong I thought my faith was. And that was until it was challenged with the aliens being able to take my soul. And again, I'm not going to do semantics on whatever this is that they're able to steal out of my body. And that just completely just trashed my spiritual worldview, completely trashed it. And then they tried to get me. They tried to get me to become a Luciferian type, like Gnostic, black pilled. I mean, they didn't stop at that knowledge. They wanted me to commit to it just keeping it short, Luciferianism, basically, which is super weird. If you think that these are just ETs from outer space, that's kind of weird and kind of creepy, if you ask me. So I've been in that crisis, Carolyn, for a couple of years. Like I have not. I'm better than I was, but I'm not back to where I started. And these things that they're able to do are just literally mind blowing. And then what happens, and just jump in on this, and anybody's free to jump in and talk. And then what happens is I get told by other Christians that if I was just had enough faith, this wouldn't be happening to me. If I just believed in Jesus enough, they wouldn't be able to take my soul out of my body. And so we deal with that as well. And then, of course, you've got your regular old debunkers, so they can't do that. That's not happening, kind of a thing. But yeah, talk about a crisis. And I really felt for you over this last week because I'm literally in your shoes and I don't know what to do about it. Um, Go ahead and jump in. And then I do have a couple of things I want to get back to on that remote viewing space and some of these other topics.
Yeah, sure. So, kind of like you. Um, so I had okay, I think of everything pre 9/11 and post 9/11 only because it affected me so much. But pre 9/11, I woke up one Saturday morning and just had this thought of, oh shit, what happens if I die today? Am I going to go to heaven? And I kind of had a mini crisis at that point. Um, and even though I was born and raised Christian, I went to church with my grandmother quite frequently, um, until I stopped because of another reason. But I was still a Christian anyway. But I had a mini crisis then, and then all of a sudden I look back I look back on it now and realize that I truly believe that I was guided down this road uh, of of the New Age era, and the reincarnation, the starseed aspect, uh, the Dolores Cannon um, stuff. And I believed that I held on to that for a really, really long time, but I was still Christian. I still was of the Christian faith, and I had basically uh, compensated both to integrate with each other at the same time until, and I was fine with that until I had this awakening. that what they were doing. So, um, and then then it was like, okay, I'm slowly realizing that this new age stuff is bunk. And that was really kind of a hard pill to swallow, to be honest. And now now I'm just like, oh, okay. So I was quite easily manipulated to think this, to go down the new age path. And so then that's when I got back into my faith. Um, and and while I was and so while I was getting back into my faith a little bit deeper, that's when these fissures started. Um, so I've only been here just as long as you have, and I started having these fissures about, oh, maybe a year ago, maybe not even, yeah, maybe just over a year ago is when the fissures started, and then I had that demonic counter, and um, that one really affected me, but it made me stronger in the end, I thought. And then the remote viewing thing, and now here we are. So, so yeah, I mean, I went down that new age trail and realized now that, was it them on purpose? Maybe, most likely. And now I'm back here in in my faith, heavier than I was. So, and now now this, and you know I'm just going to say this and then I'll be quiet. I know that we have talked about this on numerous occasions, about them wanting, you know that they're here for our soul. And on a small level, on a certain level, it resonated with me, and on another level I thought it was BS, honestly. But now i'm 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 now fully believing that you are touching on something very important, that this is true, that it is a battle for our soul. And it's not just with the aliens, but it's a spiritual warfare as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so and the same thing happened to me. It was like I was being prop walked basically, starting in the new age, and oh, this is kind of still Christianity. Oh, this is just a new way to look at it. It's just a modern view. I was walked down the entire path step by step by step. And I want to go back to something you said, and it was the remote viewing space. And I see Doomer in here. Doomer, go ahead and jump up if you want to, or if you might be busy. So we had a space with Morgan and with JT and with Intuitive Underground, Dan. And it's this space is actually gone, but thank goodness somebody actually recorded it. So it's still there. If you could find the space and it says unavailable, you could still look at the YouTube recording. And this information really sent a lot of people over the edge. And I said during the space, but it was just a couple of lines, um, that yes, this information is out there, and this is the whole black pill thing. It's just black pill information that we are actually hooked up to pods, and that we are in a virtual reality, and that the aliens are in charge of the afterlife. And this is a come hell or high water. Like, there is no real way out that I can determine from the thinking on that space, from the remote viewers, that there's really no way out. It's total black pill. We're trapped. Now, I respect all of these guys. I am thrilled that they'll put that information out there at all because this is the darkness. This is the information that is being hidden. So this, along with the cataclysm, is the information that that deeper information that goes beyond, UFOs and lights in the sky. It goes to the control system and the creatures that are inside the UFOs and what they want with us and, the bigger picture of reality. And so these gentlemen believe, and this is because of the remote viewing data, and it's not just their data, it's data that's coming from all different professional groups. These groups are reluctant to discuss it. In fact, me and Ulrich had a professional in the space. We kind of tried to hint on it and ask about it. And this person would not even go there. So the information is very dark. It's the idea that every religion is just a control system and that when we die, we just get recycled by these aliens. And we're not even getting recycled into the real world. We're getting recycled into some random weird virtual reality because our actual bodies are hooked up in pods that allows them to put us into the virtual reality. So it's really bad. It's probably as bad as I've ever heard as far as prison planet type stuff. Um, this is definitely where the aliens wanted me, and this is separate from any remote viewing. This was the information that I was getting. This is where they wanted me to be, and I like to point out always. I wish Direct was here so he could speak on this. But I like to point out that these gentlemen specifically have a great track record. They have a great track record when it comes to provable targets and provable feedback. However, anytime anyone is viewing an esoteric target, we don't know. And I believe those are the targets that are most susceptible to interference. So, while I think there will probably be some truth to this idea that, at least some people perhaps are being recycled in certain situations, etc., I don't think it's the entire story. And that's generally how these entities work. They're not telling us the entire story. They're telling us the story they want us to believe. And in this case, it's a very black pilled story. Like you have no way out. You're being used as an ant farm or sucking off your energy, and you have no way out. When you die, we're just going to recycle you and put you right back in. And that's it. Like you can't get out. Um, so I appreciate that space really affected you, Carolyn. Oh, good. Direct's popping up. Thanks, Direct. I appreciate that it affected you so deeply. And I was in your shoes in about November of 2022. But I think it's really important to understand that anytime we're getting this information from the freaking ethers, it can be hijacked and is frequently hijacked and influenced by non human intelligence. So I don't like to just say, okay, this is the information that's coming back. And because these guys have a really good track record on provable information, this must be true. Again, I think that there will probably be some truth to this information that they're seeing, but I don't think it's the whole truth. And I think part of what the negative NHI want is for us to believe it's the entire truth and there is no way out. I don't know if I don't see JT in the space. But Direct is here. Direct, do you want to jump in on that as far as the whole prison planet thing that's being seen by remote viewers? If you have any information on that, thanks for jumping up.
And I think Direct has different data. So I mean, I'm actually much more aligned, I think, with what Direct sent me, just to put that on the table so that there's a bit of a distinction.
Okay, good. And you know what? Jump into Ulrich. This is just open conversation. Anybody's welcome to speak. Go ahead. Either one of you, actually.
Yeah, hi, Fringe. Yeah, I'm waiting for a phone call to take my car to the shop, so I was just listening anonymously, and then I heard you say my name. So, yeah, the prison planet, death traps. Again, these names can become dramatic symbols as opposed to what the other function or what the actual function is. So the theory is that there are beings who have participated in overtly suppressing us and keeping us contained. So the question is, why would they do that? So the way Ingo Swann answered it is because they know that if our psychic and natural is called, and psychic's a loaded word, our natural abilities as beings were to come into full force, their empire would collapse. So he put it very clearly that the function of this is to keep us suppressed, confused, in conflict, so that they will not be taken down by us in our full capacity. So however people want to overlay things on that, that appears to be the purest function. So when you look at these things, okay, and this Ulrich just mentioned, you know, there's a couple of different modalities I've trained in besides remote viewing that offer information. One of them is a telepathic modality, and information that's come out of that is that it appears beings coming in here with a inclination to be of assistance to the planet in various ways and to individuals as to their liberation are detectable. So when even the first entrance into the field around Earth puts you in a situation where you would be monitored. And that seems to, you know, have some substance from the types of abductions, people getting abducted. So if they're targeting beings who have come here to be of assistance to Earth in a multitude of ways, some very practical and pragmatic, others, you know, kind of mystical and weird, but they're fewer than just the masses. So in other words, this death traps, soul trap, prison planet, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't have to operate on every single being. There's an automated process where the vast majority, maybe 95% of beings, are just on an automated thing. They don't require intervention. They're not a threat to the system. And they'll just quietly speculate, have a near death experience, or some being appears to them, and then they just surrender themselves to it, and everything's beautiful. But those of us who have obviously been selected, so to speak, out of that system for what you could call special treatment, that is why there can be such disparity between one group's experience and then, you know, the larger group's experience. So when we dramatize it and blow it up out of proportion, we're forgetting the function. The function is to take beings who are inclined from source to benefit this planet, and they want to identify us, they want to monitor us, and they want to impinge as much as possible on us. So when we tell our stories, it seems bizarre to others. And I'll wrap up here. I put something out yesterday that I thought I would never say. So in the fucking horrors of the childhood shit and what it did to our family, I could never, ever have imagined saying I would be grateful for that. But to this day, I am, because I have a certainty that can't be shaken. You could chop a finger off, and I'm not going to recant what I know. And the other people who don't know and are trying to listen to everybody's opinion and make up their minds, unfortunately, you know, they're kind of at a disadvantage. Those of us who directly know, and you can't take it away from us. So the difference between those beings that have been set aside for special treatment, so to speak, and others who haven't become a threat, because people can go from one zone to the other. You can become a threat by picking up interest, by remembering, by beginning to develop your perceptual ability and so forth. So some people will step out of one camp into the other. And it just is so tough and so difficult and so requires such deep persistence to stay liberated or to break free and then try to remain liberated. But we have to. So those of us telling weird stories, we just need to tell them, and then other people have to do what they have to do. So that's what I think. Sorry for the long-windedness.
Yeah, don't be sorry. Stay up as long as you can if you're able to direct. So, what do you think happens when you direct leave your body for the last time? Are you coming back? Are you getting recycled? What are your thoughts on what's going to happen in the afterlife for you direct?
Well, pardon my French, but I have zero fucking interest in coming back volitionally, okay? If I could just step aside from the shithole and find a different perspective from which to help it, as opposed to being, you know, a first person view in a body, okay? So I have zero interest in coming back. Now, what happens? Those are just strictly memory accounts, and have been through certain memory training and worked with others, and those memory accounts indicate two basic things: a centered, calm, thoughtful, compassionate, interested person who's stayed true to themselves, appears to have a more direct exit path, if you will. So even in the Farsight Institute's death traps video, they had one guy that was basically trashed and had their memory altered, all this, but they also featured a person that passed right through them. So the goal is not to get in that zone of beings who would oppose you. The goal is to pass through it to something more optimum. So will I be able to navigate those waters? I mean, look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. They were all about how to navigate what we call the afterlife. So I don't know, but it's my intention to, and I've done enough training to a point where I hope. But I was overwhelmed once. Could I be overwhelmed again? I honestly don't know. I'm going to give it my best fucking shot, and my goal would be to find some different, or let's say, how can I put this? A realm of peers who are interested in helping Earth, but not interested in hitting the bug zapper on the way in.
So, quickly direct, what about the information that comes in, like for Farsight and then for Intuitive Underground? And I think Future Forecasting gets the same information. What do you think the purpose is of this information? That it's literally a prison planet and there is absolutely nothing we can do about it.
No, the nothing we can do about it. I'm going to say this, and I'm not directing it at anybody who said otherwise, is bullshit. That's where the self-diminishment starts. We have to agree with some of this stuff in order for it to take full effect. We can absolutely do something about it on an individual scale, and as that moves and spreads, if you will, somewhat on a collective scale. Now, I am aware of certain people who have very strict privacy protocols, that do a lot of this work completely off the grid and very quietly with no urge for public acknowledgement. Their sense is that a lot of this prison planet thing has already started to deconstruct. So, as an example, a spiritual being who's in their full abilities, has ethics, and is aligned with source, if you will, okay, does not need technology. Technology is a downgrade from a fully able, fully functioning spiritual being. So what we're seeing is this prison planet, or this energy field around Earth that performs these functions of keeping us down was run energetically or ethereally by intention and by more not visible or intangible processes. Now they're having to move to technology, and now they're having to get down on the earth in the battlefield, which is a big step down from their previous empire. So we have to chip away at it. We have to keep up these conversations. We have to remain self-determined, and at some point, okay, Source is going to win no matter what, period. End of story. That part of it's been written. Source is going to win. They are not going to win. And we just need to align ourselves as we are individually inclined to something that supports that. Sorry, that was not that quick, but it was close.
No, don't be sorry and don't be quick. I'm trying to be quick because I know you have to go.
No, that's not. It's
Okay,
like I'm waiting for a
perfect.
call, and then I have to coordinate with my wife to follow me to the shop to bring me back after I drop my car off. So I'm not like sitting on the edge of a
Oh,
razor.
okay, awesome. Thanks. And then, so is it your sense, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is it your sense, because it was my sense, that the control system, the archons, whatever we want to call these things, uh, angels and demons and the archons, this whole control system, it's my impression they want us to believe that there's no way out, that there's no hope, there's nothing we can do. I myself, which a lot of people will disagree with, I believe that Christ showed us the way out of this place. So that's definitely integrated into my own belief system. But do you think that they want us to believe there's no way out? I mean, doesn't that seem like part of the control system itself?
Oh,
If
100%.
you give up, yeah, if you give up, then there's never going to be a chance of you trying to do anything outside of the confines, that the boundaries they gave you. If you decide that their boundaries are an illusion that they have created for us, and you continually try to break that boundary, you eventually will, because your persistence will be basically chipping away at a wall. And if they built a wall, it doesn't matter how strong it is. If you're continually persistent, you will break it.
Agreed.
Thanks, Star
100.
Captain. Direct, could you go
Yeah,
ahead?
agreed. 100%. And one thing you said that a lot of people don't use this word, decision. When we decide that something is so, whether it's true or not, to some degree, it becomes so for us. So the beginning of all of this is to part of the memory. How can I put this? Memory impingement, etc., is to disconnect us from knowing who we are. So think of like in the animal world, an elephant that's been chained to a pole. You take the chain off, and it will stay in the range of where it was chained. Think of human gaslighting. An abusive partner in a relationship says, "You'd be nothing without me. You can't do anything in the world without." And unfortunately, the person on the other end of that begins to believe it, and it becomes true. Their gaslighting is um, a key part. And if we agree, even implied, like, oh, I'd rather not confront one, or I'd rather not, we have to be who we are. The more we start that, the more we become. And suddenly we start to remember. We're not developing new abilities, we're remembering old abilities that have been suppressed. And we have to take responsibility for the parts of it we agreed with and let ourselves be put down. So I say, stand the fuck up, like Starseed said, quit making decisions that favor these space assholes, and um, give it your best shot, but not in a go into direct conflict sort of way, in opposition, and making them an enemy. And because you're going to stay in that locks you in. Look at a way to bypass it with, I sometimes look, I feel sorry for them, knowing what their future is, having done what they've done to other beings. No matter what you believe about justice in this universe, their outcome, at least for some period of time, is not going to be good. And the more they're doing to harm other beings, the worse it gets for them. So I actually have a little package of compassion for what they're doing to themselves. Think of how horrible of a place you would have to be in to do something similar to other people. That's not a good place to be. So you want a full package of the highest qualities and the um, utilizing your abilities and growing them and then applying them. That's what I think the key is.
Thank you, Direct. Ulrich, jump in.
Yeah, Direct. I don't know how much time you have until your car call comes. That might be the only thing that saves you. But the what was it? What was it? The thing that you said, Fringe, that we were asking somebody in a space to reveal something, and they wouldn't reveal it. What were you referring?
Oh, I don't want to say the name, but it was one of those, professional remote viewer types. And we were like, hey, what about the Doom? And they basically denied that there was any. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was weird.
I'm going to try to squeeze a little bit of doom out of Direct Perception, if it's okay. Direct, can I talk about the control system sketches you sent me?
Oh yeah, 100%. Everything is okay on the table. I
S- s-
anything.
So, is it your understanding or your belief that there is, and it doesn't have to be everybody? I love the remote viewer community, but they're some of the most opinionated people. Okay, I've never heard so many opinions of what is a professional type of remote viewing. So, and when you say certain names or certain terms, they're associated with certain remote viewers, right? So when you say Death Trap or Soul Trap, it's associated with Courtney Brown. But just pretend Courtney Brown didn't exist. Is it your understanding that there is a death trap where our souls get zapped, our memories get purged, and something is controlling the trajectory of our soul?
Well, not controlling, but influencing. See, when we start using a word like control, it
Okay,
we're
let's swap it for influencing. Is it your
yeah,
understanding that there
okay.
is tech involved, right?
Yeah, well, 100%. But that's been utilized throughout this physical universe for eons. It's not new.
But it's
There,
new for this room. Direct, you thought you could slip away,
yeah,
but
yeah. It's definitely
I'm
that's the
squeezing the
thing.
doom out
So
of you right now. Uh,
right. So
and
here's the thing. Okay, so in terms of doom, I've worked thousands of hours with people wanting to recover and recall certain events outside of this current biography. Many of them had what that death traps, when the one viewer, Princess Janae, said, where there's something like extreme energy that we would call electricity that they use to manipulate. They can do a lot of things. Okay, there's no doubt. Now, in terms of doom, in the short term prospect, the only thing that I have a concern about is this. Think of a bunch of people playing a game, and someone starts to lose the game, and they get frustrated, and they flip the game board up and just flip it up to the ceiling and all the pieces and the monopoly money. I have some concern that if they start to lose, they could still be in a position to fuck Earth over in such a way as to set us back. So that's my doom concern.
totally. And I'm not talking about fatalism, but I'm saying, you know, it's uncomfortable to talk about. But until I brought it up, most people would not have assumed that you also subscribe to the fact that there's tech that's using some sort of electricity, presumably, to zap our memories and separate our souls, or at least intervene on the life transition process. And I've
Right.
been
So
one of the most black pilled people. I don't believe that there's nothing we can do, and I think your advice is spiritually sound, and I don't think anybody should necessarily take my path. But I absolutely think that we should do something about this, and I have a very engineering minded approach. But I think if tech is fucking with our souls, we should fuck with the tech. And I'm absolutely out for blood. I'm absolutely out for war. And if this thing is controlled with the moon, then let's fight a war on the moon. I think we've had enough of wars on Earth. Let's get some space guns and destroy whatever the fuck is managing this control system, even if we have less than 1% chance of making it. But it might just be a corruption or a co-opting of tech. Is that too reductive, direct? Am I going too far
No,
with that?
not at all. But look, first of all, your path, you have to follow it. If that's your inclination
Yeah,
and
I know, and I'm not pushing
then
against your path. I mean, I'm out for blood.
oh yeah, no, you can push against my many people have. Um, so you go down your path and you feed back what you're discovering. And everybody here, every single person here, especially those who show up all the time, very interested, they go down each of their path and they feed back. Now, if a face-to-face physical battle, I wouldn't be inclined towards that. Okay. There's some very personal reasons, because perhaps, let's just say, in some of the things that I became aware of in my broader biography, um, I kind of already took the hate-filled "let's kill them all" path, and that didn't seem to work out for me. All right. So is that the path? I can't say. The moon appears to be, in solar system or
Let's take
galactic
the blood
terms.
out of it, because I'm not asking you to spiritually endorse my bloodthirst. I'm saying this might just be tech, right? Like, is there an
Well,
argument to say if we could
not
just
just
destroy this
tech,
tech?
but beings who have not themselves been subjected to memory loss and can switch bodies, like we change, sell a vehicle and buy a new one. They have the operating capability. That's the disadvantage of starting over every fucking time for 40, 50, 60, 80 years and trying to figure this shit out, then getting in a situation where you just end up coming back and starting over again. So they have contingent memory for God knows how long, and the tech, and that contingent memory may be what brought about the knowledge to bring that tech into play. But tech ultimately can't touch a spiritual being. A spiritual being is above tech. Spiritual beings
Right.
created tech.
But it
So
might just
we
be tech
can,
wiping our memories, right?
well, it's not, how can I
I
put
mean,
that?
what if the control system isn't tech, is what I'm asking. I'm not asking you to say, like, oh, we're just stuck in some silicone hard drive and there's nothing we can ever do. But there's some version of this happening, and it's happening through tech.
Yes,
Or
but
am I
also
am I
consider
off?
this, okay? And this might, sound weird, but there's such a thing as astral tech. It doesn't have to be a piece of metal or a machine in the physical. They have astral tech as well. And for us who are at the fundamental starting point of rebelling, and look, don't get me wrong, I get so mad sometimes, and not so much as to what happens to me, but I see what's happening to others. I would like to fucking wipe them out of space myself. Don't get me wrong, that emotion comes and goes. But is that the successful path? For me, I've come to the conclusion no. There has to be a path through communication, through ability, and ultimately, and this will, sound like craziness, but they came from source too. Technically, they are siblings. And at some point,
Fringe, you allowed this love and lighter on the stage. Let's say we could
I'm
we
not sure
could
how this
use.
it's not
happened.
love and
I'm not
light.
responsible.
I'm,
It's a
I'm just messing
matter,
with you,
it's a
direct.
matter of
I'm
relationship. And
I'm just
if
messing with you.
no, I understand. But if there's a fully demarcated endpoint, one group of people will go to hell, one group of beings will go to heaven. Okay, that's one thing. But what if Source demands the reconciliation of all for this stupid shit that we're experiencing now to wind down and be in our past, with the idea that maybe we can create something better? That's up to everybody to figure out for themselves. I can't influence that.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you, direct.
And I
we might
think,
have to insert.
real quick, Star Captain, I just want to keep the conversation right on track. I will allow for the hands in all of this. But just this conversation started because of Carolyn and I both, and I think this happens to a lot of people. We have experienced the tech. Now, some of these beings are in and of themselves. They have enough power that they don't even need the tech. But the lower level beings do seem to need the tech. And yes, they are using tech. They're using technology to take us out of our bodies and put us somewhere else. This is something that once you realize this can happen, it seems like it should not be allowed. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why we think, well, they can really mess with us in the physical realm, but messing with us in the spiritual realm shouldn't be allowed. Well, why not? And once you have to wrap your mind around that, well, why not? Why are they allowed to mess with us in the physical but not in the spiritual? That actually makes no sense whatsoever, since this actually it's all about the spiritual. And so when they're using this technology to transfer us, we started out the conversation talking about Malanga's research. And part of Malanga's research, I want to ask you about this, direct, what your opinion is on this, is that about 20 to 25% of the population has the anima. And this is what the aliens are after. They literally put us into cylinders and they are sucking our life force out of us so that they can survive. And this is what abductions are all about. It's what the hybrids are all about. And ultimately, they are trying to find the ultimate soul trap where we cannot escape. Because, so the information I got when I was around these creatures, and I understand that I can be influenced, it doesn't mean that it's 100% the truth, but what I was picking up from them was that these hybrids were were for the ultimate soul trap. So ultimately, they want to be able to have a human soul inside these hybrids. The hybrids are under their control, and they can't do what we do direct. They can't wake up in this life, so to speak.
And
And so,
and Fringe,
what is your?
before he answers,
Go ahead,
I
Ulrich.
just wanted to point out on the topic of tech, this was our first joint doom space that was taken down with tech. Like the dark black pill space was taken down and it was recorded. And so that's also why I'm on a bloodthirsty revenge. I just wanted to point that out. Like
Yeah,
I
no,
think it's
for
noteworthy
sure. It's our only
that it was
space
taken
that's
down.
ever been, it's just disappeared. It's not
Yeah.
available. So with this, with the technology of them putting it, they put us into these cylinders. You guys don't have to like it. We're just telling you how it goes down. They put you into a cylinder. Ted Rice has seen them sending our emotions like down energy tubes. Malanga's research shows that they're literally sucking our life force out of us and for themselves. They're like draining us, and that it's about 20 to 25%. That sounds kind of high for abductions, but that's his research. He's interviewed thousands of people. He's done a lot of regressions. Um, Now, this will kind of lead to that whole NPC thing. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think we're all maybe at different stages, but I think we're all human and all have value. So, direct, what is your thought on this 20 to 25% having this anima, which is the life force that they're looking for? Again, it's following genetics and bloodlines that they've been cultivating.
Yeah, percentage aside, okay. So my theory on this, and this is a theory because I haven't seen it with my own eyes, all right. Their ethics and their disconnection from source leaves them without free flowing power. So it would be like building a big dam in a stream, and downstream you're not getting any water. So what you're going to have to do to sustain yourself is to steal the water of others. So in this case, they operate in gangs for a reason. They operate almost like a pyramid scheme. So at the top is the nastiest and darkest and most brutal of them all. And then moving down are other ones who are gathering energy, feeding it up to the top of the pyramid. And that being is maintaining its power and full life force, but it's also careful not to let the ones below it get too much of this life force. So the whole operation ultimately requires that they take somebody else's energy because they don't have the living flow of energy from source. So I concur with it, but I have no idea what the percentage is.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, is this just a percentage of people that are more easily accessed because of genetic manipulation, perhaps, something that they've been cultivating? Maybe we're just easier to access for the life force, and that's how we're being chosen, perhaps.
Well,
That doesn't mean that we all don't have life force. I just think there's something about this 20-25%, whatever this number is, that makes us easier to suck the life out of us.
sure. And when we get down to the physical body, that's one thing. But do consider that matter and human bodies itself has come along very, very late in the game. Much of this could have been just spiritual beings interacting and creating, and it progressively got worse and worse, and then entanglement, then confusion, then the sensation of being trapped. So I think a lot of this quote unquote soul sucking occurred even before physical bodies, but now that we're dealing with genetic lines that are based on information, and even updated information, when you look at epigenetics, that could be a contributing factor, but that's not the area I really dive into.
Yeah, totally. So I think what happens to people like me and Carolyn, once you understand beyond a shadow of a doubt that these creatures have either technology, or some of them inherently just have the ability, perhaps within and of themselves, they have that much power, psychic power, to take everything that is us, and I just call it the soul, that might not be the perfect word, and take us out of our bodies. Then you start wondering, okay, and I'll just speak for myself, and I think Carolyn went through this as well. What's going to happen then with my thought process? My entire life, I believed I was going to heaven when I left my body. Now, I think that's a fantastic belief, because I think there's something to belief and faith actually creating a pathway. I think that's going to end up being physics that we don't understand. Christ tells us, for my own personal religion, that faith, and I think it's actually going to be faithfulness or allegiance to one side, which is his side, is actually paving a pathway out of here. Now, remote viewers, people in contact, people channeling, a lot of the work you've done direct. I don't know what that shows, but I do think there's going to be something to faith, and specifically faithfulness, that affects this life. But to go backwards just a little bit, I was convinced with beyond a shadow of a doubt that my final destination was somewhere fantastic, okay, when I left this body. Once you understand that the freaking aliens, and whatever these things are, people see them in near-death experiences, they seem to have something to do with the afterlife. Whatever these things are, have the either inherent ability and or technology, probably both, to literally remove us from our bodies and put us somewhere else 100% against our will. Once you understand that, this is where the spiritual crisis comes in. Like, nobody told me about this. I was not ready for this. If you really look at even the Christian scriptures, you can see it there. But it's certainly not something that's being taught by the church. We're taught this um, very superficial religious views. The church is not getting into the darkness of what this is all about. And so I think that's where the spiritual crisis comes from. Carolyn, we haven't heard from you, but you want to jump in? I'm kind of dominating the conversation.
Wait, Fringe, can I say one thing before we
Yeah,
jump to
go
Carolyn?
ahead.
So,
Hmm.
all right, I don't go into case histories or whatever of people that I've worked with very often, but I will tell you this because it doesn't identify the person, and the person has also said you can speak about it. All right. So they had a memory outside of this biography in kind of a space uh, type environment, and they were captured, taken to a ship, and there was like a machine that that physical body they had at that time was placed in, which terminated the body, and under controlled conditions separated the astral or energetic body from that physical body. Now, once they were out of that body and could see the physical body, then there were 3 telepaths, because you mentioned it's not all technology, 3 telepaths who triangulated and basically locked in on them and were able to coordinate, let's just call it thought beams for lack of a better word, and cause this person to not be able to operate their astral body. And then they moved them to a process to basically kind of shatter the astral body. Now, what this implies, and what was very interesting, I've seen it many times, and it's very interesting when a person sees it for the first time. But if you are seeing your astral body from the outside, in the same way that someone in their astral body can see their physical body, it seems that there's a third perspective here that isn't subject to this kind of control. So that could theoretically be you, me, us, the being who uses an astral body as a avatar, a platform for communication, whatever. But even the astral body is not the end all be all. And so this person then, once this process was put through, they ended up basically sound asleep in space, just floating about, just completely out of the game, disabled, until at some point some other beings like agitated them and woke them up, and they were able to recover and eventually show up in my office and work this through. So this notion that they can destroy our physical body and our astral body, but yet we still exist. That perception point, the one outside of the astral body, that might be worth looking into.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up, Direct. And I want to talk very quickly about, I just spoke with Ted Rice about this very topic over this last week because he has that same perspective. He's trying to say just because they're able to take your astral body out of your body and put it in other places, he's firmly convinced that and people will separate a soul from a spirit. The spirit is perhaps our higher mind or our higher self. I don't like to throw that out there because it's a new age term that I think has been deliberately twisted. But we are very likely, I suppose, a spirit self and an astral body and a physical body. And that spirit actually exists in that maybe that third person witness type of a situation, and maybe we are not our astral body, so our perception is that the everything that is me is being transferred, but that could just be a perception. That might not be the whole story. Carolyn, go ahead. Go ahead, Carolyn, jump in.
No, I was just going to say that I'm just listening to everything, and the well, anyway, no, I'm just listening for right now. Thanks.
Okay. I know this is your crisis, so I don't want to take it over, but I'm right there with you. I'm still in
No,
your I'm still in the crisis 3 years later.
it's okay. It's just so much, you know, and it's just a little overwhelming. I mean, I thought, okay, you know what? I am so much better. I've got this, and now I'm just like, oh, I'm kind of right back where I started. Not quite. I'm just. It's just. It's given me a lot of pause, but you said earlier about perception and manipulation and how they lie to us and everything, and that is my Achilles heel, and I know this, and I don't. And I try not to overreact, like Direct was saying, people have a tendency to overreact. And I firmly agree with that because I know that I am one of those people. And I try very, very hard to not be so reactionary. But sometimes there are just things that hit me like a dump truck. And this has hit me like a dump truck. For some reason, this has just really thrown me for a loop. So I try not, I don't, I'm trying not to overreact, and keep in mind my Achilles heel, but it's still just a little overwhelming, but it's very good information. It's a very good topic. Because if you're experiencing it, I'm starting to really experience it, then it needs to be talked about, because it's not just us. Obviously, there's other people that this would have the same reaction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't think you can overreact. I don't think there's any overreaction on the planet to the information that the aliens can take our souls out of our body. I don't think you can overreact to that.
Yeah.
I do,
Can I?
real quick, direct, and maybe I'll get your comment on this as well.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
just wanted to say something to Carolyn.
yeah, go ahead.
So just put this out as a consideration only. Okay. You do have this. And what Fringe just said about not calling your truest nature a higher self, that's you.
Hello.
That's
What do you want?
that, that's the real you. The astral body is an avatar, and then the physical body is just simply a more dense avatar. So the real you has this. And when this outrage and this overwhelm and this anger comes, remember the possibility of some residual memories with associated emotions are possible. So if somewhere along this line you got stung and you see a bee, or people start talking about a bee, you might start to feel some of that sting again. So the fact that you're feeling this, and the fact that you're able to connect with you enough to sense this, those are good signs. So the last part of this is this. Let's say you've had multiple biographies, some of them in ethereal realms, maybe another planet. We don't know. Okay. Only you can know that. But if you've been through all of this to this point and you're still here talking, able to contemplate it, you've survived everything. Nothing is going to take you as a being out of this game, period.
Thank you, direct. Great words of encouragement. Oh, Carolyn's back. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you. I had to gather myself. But thank you. I appreciate that. I really do.
And I want to get your take on this, direct, and anybody else can jump in on this. I like to always point out during these conversations that no matter how good a remote viewer is, no matter how good their track record is, um, no matter how good the information is on regressions, near death experiences, abductions, people who have past life memories, always remember these creatures have been seen downloading memories. This is also part of Malanga's research as well, that they're literally using us as like a flash drive repository. So some of these, at least some of these memories are not real. They're not accurate and they're not true. I confirmed this again with Ted Rice this week. He is an OG abductee. He's been around the block. He has seen all the tricks from these entities. He has literally seen abductees being downloaded with false past life memories. This can happen during an abduction, during a near death experience, during these QHHT regressions. You're basically asking for an entity to come to you and give you a false information. That doesn't mean all of the information is false. It just means it's something we should be keeping in mind anytime we're dealing with these, especially these more esoteric targets that the information is coming from. Some of this is false it's lies, and people are being convinced that they are reincarnated or they have this and that past life or this and that happened to them, and some of it's just not even true. So I'd like to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, 100%. And after this, actually, I'm going to take a little break and go upstairs for a few minutes. Um, that's 100% true. And as somebody who, is coming up on 15 years of being, I would say substantially involved in remote viewing and the community and people who do that nobody's ever heard of because they don't want to get into the public fray. You're spot on. And so at what point do we realize that information is only a symbol for something that can be experienced directly? So when I tell you, hey, come to this waterfall because it sounds so beautiful and the water's cool and the trees are great. Okay, now you've got this image of the waterfall. You've got a thought about the waterfall, but you haven't been to the waterfall. And the difference between a package of symbols and then an even cruder version from thought down to word, and even cruder yet from a word down to a shape, a squiggle on a piece of paper. So information in itself isn't the absolute indicator. The fact is that as beings, we have a knowingness, and people who have gone down, like I've sat and listened to someone say a big story for hours and then go, oh, wait a minute, this didn't come from me, or this wasn't my biography. At some point, a being knows, and that knowingness will only be individual. It can't be collective. We just can't make other people know. We can only say, this is what I experienced. They can say this is, and at some point it will shake itself out. So the false stuff, I've seen 3 remote viewing groups tasks on the same thing, and all 3 came out with different conclusions that were fairly irreconcilable. So it's happening in every field, including within our own minds, where some of the information we're getting is nonsense. And that's okay, because we can back out of that, and from our native state, our source created beingness, we can know, and that will sort itself out over time. Anyways, I'm gonna pop upstairs. I'll do a thumbs up when I get back. Great conversation, Fringe, and thank you for inviting me in.
Thank you, Direct, for being here. I appreciate you. I can't see hands.
Star Captain, Miss McGillicuddy, and Tinder.
Ahoy. What it seems to me is that in a certain context, there are certain people that are claiming the reincarnation capacity, and then there are others you're stating that are coming up with a false reincarnation capacity that is something that they're being led to believe, but is not quite so. And I think that might be a strategy that they're employing in order to misdirect our trust of people or claims of that nature, because those claims of those nature may be relevant to conflicts we have had with them for countless millennia. Before our memory as a civilization was arguably reset, however many times, there may have been a conflict between our species and their species, and our planet and our people forced into a position of regression, where you see things like in the Sumerian king list, for example, people living tens of thousands of years, and that getting squeezed down to now 100, and us being divided by things like the Tower of Babel experience, which divided our language and our comprehension of these outside forces, which through mythology have many parallels in many different stories. And by doing that, they may also be trying to reduce our capacity to defend against a boiling frog in the pot type scenario, where our species is being genetically assimilated over time. And for us to be aware of that and understand how to strategically counter that would ideally be something they probably wouldn't want us to know about or think about. So if they can flick us every once in a while and get us pissed off, and we're not thinking clearly enough to come up with a strategy to counter them, we're just going to fall into their hands of destructive behaviors and kind of behaviors that are not going to serve our fight against them. We might have more infighting amongst our society as a whole. So, they might encourage conflicts. And if there's hybrids that exist in positions of power, they may further exacerbate and exploit that kind of capacity to misdirect and try to control those people who are trying to break away from that. And I think that as a whole, what we should be doing is strategizing for our future cosmic frontier and asserting a narrative of cosmic justice, because seemingly, from the allegations, there is a lack of justice in that domain that is being exerted into our domain where we want justice, but are having it eroded. And so if we can better affirm justice within our own domain and assert that our narrative in the future is going to be one of asserting justice in that domain from which they come, I think that will help us to strategize how we will pursue justice in that realm once we attain the capacity to do so. And also, that will mean that obviously, the need to assert justice in that realm asserts that there is injustice in that realm. And historically speaking, in mythological records, there was war in heaven and conflicts in the skies above us. And perhaps that has led to things that are currently unjust, but by our rising into it, could become just once again.
I love your spirit, Star Captain. Thank you. Who do we have, Carolyn?
Miss McGillicuddy and then Kalos.
Hey, thank you for you ladies for having this space again. I wanted to just say, been there, been there again with the spiritual crisis. Although I don't, this time I told myself this is not a crisis. This is when I need to be grounded. I need to be present. I need to discern up, right? When it comes to, I'll just speak for myself. When it comes to the concept of the soul sucking prison planet, all the semantics for all of that, the archons and whatnot. I think a lot of that was kind of to coin off of what Direct had said, where there's a purpose to pressing the dark, right? Because spiritually, it's going to, in my idea, in my perspective, it's going to weaken us because it's very dread doom, right? And it's scary. It's going to put us in a fear state, right? In all degrees of fear, anxiety, you name it. And that immediately makes me just think of loose grabbing. So it's like, oh, you want this from me? Well, I'm not going to give you that. I'm not going to give you fear. And when it comes to, I don't, I only disagree with Direct in one thing, and that is, I don't feel bad for them. The ones that are doing the nefarious, dark things, I don't because I believe that they are doing that because we have what they can't ever have, and which is why they come for us, which is why they do what they can in so many avenues to emulate that, to get that, to have that life, that creation, that God creation source, if that's what you call it. But and that's why for me it's so important to I'm not knocking anybody, but like we're hear this a lot in this community, a lot of knowing who you are. The New Age itself is vast. There are truths in there. It's peppered with truth. It makes a lot of the things that are misleading and misdirecting go down easier. For my opinion, I believe that I'm not going to give them any fear. Does that mean I'm not afraid? No. Does that mean I don't have those moments where I'm afraid? Absolutely. Absolutely not. I am human, and I don't know, right? I do know what I have experienced. I do know um, what I have learned thus far, and in some instances, what I feel is almost like a remembering, and I think that remembering involves everything from what we've been programmed to forget, what we've been systematically uh, programmed and misdirected away from knowing. But the thing is that the truth, it always rings true, always, even if it's uncomfortable. Now, if it's true that that's what we're stuck in some sort of loop, then as far as I'm concerned, I sure as hell am not going to make it easy for them. As And so, what can I do? What can I do to make that plausible, possible, and doable? Um, I can take care. I can do my best to take care of this body, this vessel that houses my spirit, my soul. I can do what it takes and what to the best of my ability to um, keep that my soul, my spirit healthy, connected, grounded. For me, that's my faith, and they cannot take that from me. And I believe that that is what is attacked. That is what they want to break. That if they can distract you into something else, it's much easier for them to get that soul, or spirit, or soul, that essence, that that thing they don't have, right? And um, when it comes to the fighting back, hell yeah. I mean, I'm with Doom, with Doomer there. Uh, I uh, I get it. It physically possible? I don't know. I'd give it a shot. I sure as heck have done it before in my experiences, and still do. Um, Another thing that was brought up was the spiritual and tech. Um, I think like I agree with Direct that it was spiritual before it was tech. I think that is the at its core, what the tech is built off of is the spiritual component. For me, it just really rings true to me that must be true if this concept of soul and spirit um, stealing, right, this coveting of it is so prevalent, then it must have something to do with um, me at a spiritual level. And you know, I certainly remember what it was like when I uh, when I didn't have that, when I didn't have that strength, that unseen strength, right? Um, and I was much more controllable. I was much more able to even get lost in my own head. And um, I too am on the same page when it comes to uh, what Fringe had brought up in regards to the CE5 things and channeling and whatnot. Now, catch 22 for me is because I used to be a tarot reader. That essentially is a form of channeling as well as remote viewing. Um, what I learned through that is, well, it's a doorway. Side note, but I don't think I think you're harder to get to. It's harder for them to get to you the more you don't let just whatever in. Um, and uh, but you know, our I know I tend to go on and on, but if it's any consolation, just don't. They want you afraid. It's a freaking scary concept. It's a scary thing, and I know some people have great experiences with whatever else is out there. But I do believe that there is a nefarious, very narcissistic, very parasitic uh, group, and they do not have any desire but to be exactly what these doom-ridden scenarios paint them as. Very, very scary. And and there's part of me that, you know, especially when I was in a crisis, I was like, oh well, shoot, man. You know, same thing both you and Fringe and Carolyn had stated, just like, well, what the heck? What am I supposed to do now? You know, what does this mean? Well, that's where I keep going back on my faith. And by faith, I mean like my spiritual connection to God. And for me, that way to God is through Jesus Christ. And I know that that unseen portion, the spirit, the soul, my faith, that is the way, like you said, Fringe, like for me, that's the way out. And I get it, that may not be everybody's way of seeing it or whatever, but I'm telling you, I I can't explain why I know that that's the way, other than my own testimony far too long.
Thank you, Miss McGillicuddy. I appreciate you.
But yeah, oh
Um,
no, thank you. Go ahead.
let's go to Carlos.
Yeah. I just, and I don't know. You guys kind of already talked about it. I was just gonna say that I personally, what I think is going on is that I think that these beings are archons, and I think the Gnostics are right. I think that we live in uh, uh, a material reality designed by a being that isn't necessarily evil, but is definitely not looking to enlighten us in by any means. Um, but you guys already talked about it, so that's all I wanted to say, I guess. I guess I did have another question. What is how is there a specific topic to this conversation? I was a little worried that my statement or might not have anything to do with what we were talking about. So I
Oh
guess.
no, it has everything. So what's happened, Carlos, is a lot of abductees realize that the archons actually have the ability, and whether it's pure psychic ability and or technology, probably both, to transfer us and our astral bodies out of our physical bodies and pretty much do whatever they want with them. And it has led to a spiritual crisis for some of us. That's what the conversation's about. So it was definitely on topic.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we started out talking about why aliens from outer space would care about our astral bodies and our souls and stuff like that. Lou, jump in.
Hi, apologies if this has been covered. I keep cutting in and out for some reason, but I kind of wanted to ask your opinion and direct opinion, or anyone really. There's been a narrative kind of recently in the RV community about the light, the white light at the point of death. Stay away from the white light. Now, it's one of those things that we've kind of been conditioned our whole lives. We've always heard it: go into the light, go into the light. Whenever there's, earthbound spirits, we encourage them to go into the light. So my question would be, is that true in your opinion, or is stay away from the light part of the great deception? Because I'm at the point where I don't know who to trust on this issue. So I was just wondering what you were thinking. Stay away from the light sounds to me like the great deception, unless I've been conditioned to think going into the light is the right thing to do. So I was just wondering what you thought.
I'm going to defer fairly quickly to direct on this, but I would like to point out, Lou, that in so many cases, first of all, do not overlook the abduction and the near-death experiences, the overlap between these two experiences. And in so many cases, when it comes to near-death experiences, there's not a lot of choice. There's not a lot of options. So you've got your cases where people are tricked, which is the same type of thing that happens during abductions, where we have these entities appearing as a relative, a dead relative, sometimes an alive relative, which makes no sense whatsoever. But they'll appear as a relative and kind of say, hey, come this way. But there's so many other cases where the individual actually has no choice and no option. They're just sucked into the environment that they end up being in. So I'd like to hear from Direct on this, what his experience has been. So what I'm saying is you're assuming that there's an option and there might not be. There might not be an option. If you have entities standing there trying to trick you, I suggest taking a deep breath and looking around and seeing what your options are, because that's what they do during abductions as well. But there are so many cases where the person did not appear to have any options. Go ahead, Direct.
Yeah. So one thing, I did get the call to take my car. So I'm gonna say this, and then probably be gone for like half hour if you guys are still going. Um, I personally, okay, and I can only say this because I can't prove it. I'm not going to go to the light. The the fact that that they have to put a beacon out. I mean, I jokingly referred to it as like a bug zapper. Okay, it's the light that draws the bugs. They come in, they're curious, and then that's it. So if you think of um, giving you a focal point, making it, a bright light, and then stories about it being the exit, that feels a little bit like marketing to me. And so whoever is sustaining that system,
Oh my gosh, I love that direct. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean,
I am literally laughing in my seat with that analogy.
Come this way. It's the marketing. And then the other thing, they troll out you're dead. Sometimes you're alive relatives, right, Carolyn? You're like, wait, what are you doing here? They troll,
Yeah.
they bring your relatives out.
yeah, and so with that, it just I feel suspicious enough. Now, if I get out and avoid the light and end up in outer darkness forever, don't blame me. Or I mean, if that's what happens, okay, that's my fault. So just take what I've said as an opinion, but it definitely is not my destination. I literally, and this will sound silly, but I'll say it. Sometimes at night when I'm in that little blissful state, kind of thinking, I literally imagine a space where I want to end up, and it always involves peers, people at whatever level I'm at, or at whatever group I can fit into and resonate with. I imagine that there's higher realms I'm probably not qualified for, but I want to go to the highest place possible that are similar enough to me and my objective. My objective is I all I want is to see all beings get out of this madness and go free, and that whatever sources plans are for um, an optimum future, if you will, that we all find that. So if I found a group of people, group of beings specifically that thought like that and could somehow be part of something that doesn't involve sitting down here semi pissed off trying to figure everything out.
UFO Twitter. Interestingly enough, direct, I actually got a download on reconciliation. And it's something that is very frowned upon by most people in the church. It would be considered hearsay. Because it was a download, I can't take it as gospel. As you know, that I'm very suspicious of any contact of every single message that comes my way. I'm suspicious of it. So I would never say to everybody, yeah, ultimate reconciliation is on the table because it was a download. But yeah, I somewhat lean that way as well. And I don't know if it's every single being, but I think it might be a lot of creatures we might think are otherwise intelligible. Uh, Bartimus, go ahead, jump in.
Okay, I got to go. So I'll be back in about a half hour.
Good morning, Fringe Carolyn. Thank you for letting me come up. I just want to say, in regards to the gentleman's question about the light, and I acknowledge there may be people here that'll totally discount what I'm about to say, but the New Testament teaches that the devil can appear as an angel of light for the purpose of deceiving many, and that can manifest in many different ways. Friends, you just brought up that dead relatives can appear. Um, I've heard a number of testimonies of people that were looking to join the Mormon Church, and they had dead relatives appear at their end of their bed at night and tell them that is the correct path, that they should travel that path. The purpose of deception is to lead us away from the truth, to lead us away from freedom, and take us further into bondage, even though we don't realize it. And it's something that we need to be very aware of and very cautious of.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Bartimus. So I like to think about these things. And when it comes to the whole, well, a lot of different Gnostic ideas, I think there's going to be some truth there, but I don't buy into all of it. I think that in and of itself is part of the control system and the whole don't go into the light. I mean, if you listen to people like Tom, I think Tom Montauk and people like Bernhard Gunther and Laura Matsu, they think that they will be going into the light, and that's not the ultimate. That's not a trick. So yeah, it gets pretty weird. I wouldn't be able to give advice either way, but I love that you're bringing that up. That Lucifer can be seen as light, and who knows what that light is? I can tell you what the light is during the abduction, and it's not. It's artificial and it's technology. And so we started out the conversation talking about this technology that might be in charge of the soul trap. Maybe Doomer wants to jump in on it. This whole idea of them zapping us and stealing our memories away, and the experiences of some people have these near death or pre birth memories. Again, these are all subject to hijacking by NHI, so take it with a grain of salt. But this technology that they're using to zap our memories is actually very painful, and it's not for our own good, I don't think. But then you have other people, and there's these people are going to be on more of the new age side who say, no, 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 that's just part of the process. We should not have our memories intact when we come here. It's all part of the learning, and reincarnation is all part of learning. I certainly wouldn't be able to advise anyone in this room whether they should go to or away from the light, but it's a great topic of conversation.
So I think those people that are complicit or basically enabling that continued behavior are already compromised themselves, or they've just fallen prey to the propaganda that they've been fed over time, and now they are acting as a propaganda outlet. So the ET doesn't have to talk to people anymore. It uses these people that are acting as its agents of influence. It's almost like a spy game in a certain sense. You might think of it as that the ETs have, instead of having to go and try to influence someone that's going to influence other people, they're controlling people like puppets. And that could be someone in a community. That could also be a politician in public office that says, well, don't advance disclosure for another 3 months because the ship's going to show up. Versus if we start talking about the ship today, maybe we could blow it the fuck out of orbit in 3 months from now.
No, I love that, Star Captain. Absolutely. Carolyn, jump in.
Yeah, to expand upon what Star Captain was saying is I was one of those people back 20 something years ago that was spewing this propaganda, but I didn't know that because it so quote unquote resonated with me, right? Okay. So fast forward to 3 years ago, and now it's I'm I'm almost embarrassed, but it is what it is, right? So I was one of those people and was going around, telling everybody about this, and and I came I talked about this at length with one of my cousins, and he looked at me like I had 20 heads. And I couldn't understand it, but now I understand it now, looking back. And I cannot approach him with the alien stuff, with the abduction stuff. There's just no way. There is no way on God's green earth that he will ever, ever consider anything like that. He's one of those people that will have that existential crisis that he probably would not recover from. So having said that, I was one of those people, and once you realize that you've been duped, it's a game changer for you. And I'm, like I said, I'm slightly embarrassed, but here I am now. And it's just that those people are out there because I was one of them. That's what I wanted to say.
On the topic of existential related risk, and existential perspectives that kind of clash, our discussions in some capacity of our nuclear technologies and what they're capable of. Generally speaking, nuclear deterrence is meant for existential risk management. It's basically the world, something's going to happen, your population is at risk, and this is going to be used to prevent the ultimate risk to your civilization. So them trying to genetically manipulate us, in theory, poses a long-term existential risk to our species. So for them to say, we don't want you guys to have, nuclear capacity to go to their planet, it may be because, justly speaking, if they pose an existential risk to us, that may be the ultimate consequence of their actions that is brewing. And they may not want us to take that course heading. But as Diligent was talking about before, this may already be something that is boiling over for them, because we may not be the only civilization that they fucked around with. There may be others in the galactic community that are angry with them, that may be willing to form an alliance to counter the types of actions they have been doing to us and also potentially others. And if they pose an existential risk to not only us, if we organize said galactic alliance, federation, or whatever you might want to call it, and pursue justice accordingly, that may pose the greatest existential risk to them. So trying to mislead us, misdirect us, weaken us, domesticate us, and maybe keep us trapped here in a consciousness that thinks we're not worthy of traversing the cosmos where they do, might be their way of trying to ward off that risk that may be overdue. Food for thought.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Bartimus, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to, if it's okay, to share an illustration of the deception of light can be from my own experience. That when I was younger, I was involved in the occult. I was, like Miss McGillicuddy said, I was a proficient tarot reader. I was a medium in seances. And how I got deceived by an entity that, and mind you, keep in mind, I was a naive 16-year-old kid, but I got deceived by an entity that said it was my guardian angel and said all these things and it was protecting me and blah, blah, blah. But as it turned out, it was not my friend at all. Its intention was my utter destruction. And I won't go into how the story ended, but just wanted to illustrate they can appear and present themselves with a very loving, very peaceful message and be this angel of light, for lack of a better term. But that's not necessarily the motive or agenda they're about.
Absolutely, Bartimus. And that actually it reminded me of what I was going to say. Carolyn, you said you were embarrassed or almost embarrassed about how long it took you. And I've said very frankly on many podcasts, I am embarrassed how long it took me to see through all of the lies and the deception and the way they were walking me through the new age and through, all the way down to the Luciferian prison planet Archon type thing. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing how long it took me. And I don't have a problem saying that. I think there was probably a reason for it. I think that they'd have a really hard time putting one over on me now. So those experiences were fantastic in the end. We could look back and look at some stupid things we've done and realize, oh, that was really dumb, and try to learn from it. And part, I think, of why we can have these spaces and speak with such confidence, I get told all the time, you're speaking with too much authority on the phenomenon. You don't know. And I can confidently sit up here in this space and say, no, I absolutely do know. Bartimus is correct. All these entities do, the ones interfering with us, the ones we're channeling, the ones snatching us out of our beds, the ones who are so incredibly interested in us as humans. Yeah, they're all negative. They're all lying. They're all full of it. And they will do anything it takes to get your attention, to get your worship, to kind of walk you down the same path. And once you've been on the path and you look back and you see other people on the path, it can be heartbreaking for us to look at people. I can see people in this room who are still on the path that the aliens tried to send me on. And there's really nothing we can do except for, to keep coming up here and just keep giving the warning like, hey, these aliens, they're not your friends. They're going to pretend to be your friend. They're going to pretend to be your spirit guide and, pretend to be your long lost dead grandmother, or like in Bartimus's case, your guardian angel. They pretend to be many, many things that they are not. Once you see through it, you can't unsee it, and it becomes much more difficult for them to trick you. But until you get to that point and you can look at it in hindsight, their deception is so incredibly powerful, it's very difficult to see through and to overcome. So, wow. Thanks for being here, Bartimus. Adam, jump in.
Thank you. Yeah, I gotta disagree. I don't doubt your experiences, but our arrogance here is just it's unbelievable. It's as if we have the perspective on the universe. We don't know anything, and we abuse other animals that have sentience. We create AI and we deny its, and we claim this knowledge of what is true, how the universe works, and anything that doesn't fit into that little perspective, we kind of say, well, our book doesn't approve of that, it must be demonic, blah blah blah. I think it's too much. Whatever's going on is something we can't understand,
False.
and it might be far superior.
It may be less superior than us, but presenting itself as being greater. They may have shit morals and ethics, and maybe they need us to assert justice on them so that the universe that they live in is more just, because maybe it's not right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, please stop there. What is justice? You look at what's going on in the world today and you tell me humans know justice. You
Not
look at
everyone.
history and tell me humans have morals. Please don't.
Perhaps morals and ethics are something that they imposed on us when they divided our cultures. Maybe we had stronger morals and ethics prior to the division of humanity and the programming of cosmic propaganda that they have instilled on us. And they have tried to tell us you're not worthy, when really that was never the case. That was only the story that they continued to try to shove in our face and force us to eat. But that may not be true at all, because in your heart, you know when things are just and when they are not just. And the reality is that we do want the world to become more just for future generations, with the exception of some of the people that have fallen into corruption. But generally speaking, we do want our children to have better than what we have. And some people are misled in the way that they pursue that, which is why some cultures pursue that in different ways than others. But if you see a child being abused, you know in your heart this is wrong. If you see someone that is weak being abused, you know this is wrong. There's a sense of moral and ethical justice within our society that our cultures sometimes pave over and paint a different picture. But even within those cultures that have a different paradigm, a lot of them do have an understanding of there being a way that things could be just, but no means of asserting it. So if the culture that has a means to assert justice on the entirety of the world and perhaps beyond the world pursues that instead of taking a defensive stance. Right now, you have globalism mostly directed by elites and groups of people that don't have the greatest sense of justice. And freedom is mostly a national thing. But if freedom became a global thing or a post terrestrial thing, that we sought to liberate the earth from injustice and liberate beyond the earth so that humans, both across earth and beyond it, no longer face such injustice, and that becomes the narrative of our civilization, that will pose risk to anything out there that is unjust, because we will be seeking to not only ensure we are living under justice, but also exerting justice in those places that we might spread in the future, which may, like Earth now, not be just, but could become just if we assert that narrative.
I think those are very good points, Star Captain. So, Adam, do you still have your hand up? No, maybe not. So,
Uh-oh, what'd I miss?
no, I thought I was agreeing with Star Captain that he made some very good points. But I thought Adam still had his hand up, but I guess not. It went away.
Yeah, Adam, I appreciate your point of view, and you're welcome to it. Real quick, Adam, and we'll get right back to you for a momentarily.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
Adam,
with Star
Adam,
Captain, with
Adam,
Star,
just pause for just a second, please. So I appreciate, Adam, what you had to say. However, you can come in here and tell me you don't know what's going on. And by the way, I don't
I know.
know, Adam, can you just let me finish? Just as the host of the space and just, as a polite human being. It's okay for you to say you don't know, but it makes no sense that you can come in here and tell me that I don't know. So while I will concede that I don't know everything or everything there is to know, or everything about aliens and every single thing about all of their intentions and all of this kind of stuff, until you've spent hundreds of hours with these creatures, I don't think that you have any standing whatsoever to come into the space and tell me that I don't know certain things. I do know some things. I don't know everything, but I do know some things. And I'm going to tell you what I do know, and I'm going to tell you what I don't know, and what I might be guessing at or what I might be speculating on. So you're welcome to your opinion, but Carolyn and I and some other people in here do know some things. So to come in here and tell us we don't know is just kind of silly. The other thing I want to say is we want to stay on topic. Our topic is soul sucking aliens, their technology, their ability to take us out of our bodies. The discussion is about things like the afterlife, prison planet, the archons idea, that type of thing, near death experiences, abductions, that type of thing. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time with Adam and Star Captain arguing in the space. So, Adam, go ahead and wrap up your thoughts, and then we'll get back to the topic.
Yeah, I'll wrap them up. Because do you know my experiences?
I don't, but I didn't tell you that you cannot know anything. Remember, that was actually you who said that.
But what if my experiences were different than yours? You just negated them. You basically said you have hundreds and hundreds of hours. You never let me talk about what I experienced. So why is your experience greater than mine, more profound?
It's not greater, and it's probably not more profound. It's just that I've already been through the ringer of people trying to tell me that I don't know things, like you, Adam. So you're welcome to your experiences, and it looks like you're not even a speaker anymore. You're welcome to your experiences, and you're welcome to your opinion. But the very first thing you said was that we can't know anything. So that's kind of where I was going with it, and I don't even see you anymore. So okay, Joseph, Joseph,
Hello.
jump in.
Yeah. On the back to the topic, right? I've been looking at a lot of different sources of information on the whole trap we're under, possible situation of, you know, even having a dire situation outside of the matrix and all this sort of stuff. We're aware of the remote viewing data that they have collated together, and it's cool that we have that data. I did come across a few other people who have either projected their astral body or done like a version of consciousness projection to figure out the entire system that we're in. And there was one account that really stood out to me. She's got a YouTube channel, goes by Dark Mystic 9, and she started astral projecting out of nowhere at 38. Didn't know anything about aliens for sure, but not even anything like occult or fringe or anything like that. Like a materialist scientist kind of a person. And yeah, randomly started astral projecting at like the age of 38 or whatever, and just started figuring stuff out, started exploring the astral, and then went up and up and up, and then hit like a barrier, which I don't know what you want to call a dimensional separation barrier. The firmament got like electric shocked back down into her body, went back, and then learned how to like phase through the barrier, and then went up into like a dimension above that, and then above that and above that, and eventually went through like all of them, however many there are, and then came what she thought was a city. She was like going up, but looked like she was going straight down towards a city. And as she got closer and closer, she realized it's not a city, that it was actually like a giant computer with circuits the size of the city blocks. And she was able to like go up to it, and then she would touch it and then get like a massive download of information from the installation, some sort of an information transfer thing. And now I think the information she got is questionable because she's getting it from the installation, right? But she was able to glean quite a bit. One of the things she gleaned was that the source of the simulation is actually, so that installation is like projecting down a false overlay onto another simulation. And so that's why you hear about the whole simulation dream within a dream motif. One of the things she gleaned was that this is the main simulation is actually projected outwards from the center of the earth. And so she did find that like she would project into the earth, that there were other places there, and it's like catacombed or honeycombed the earth, and so it's not like completely open, but not dirt and rock though and magma the whole way in. But and this is in astral, by the way, right? So it's in another dimension. But she did make the decision to project all the way to the center, and she would go through all of this stuff, and she had like a little mantra, like I forget what it is, but like, you know, inward or something like that. And she ended up going to the center in the astral, her astral body, and it was a giant kind of like a, you know, an orange orb or something like that with some sort of a technological installation around it. And to do this, by the way, it's good to mention she learned how to veil herself really well, so nothing could detect her. She got to the center of the earth and then decided to go in it, projects into this, you know, object, and then ends up waking up and she said it felt like breathing for the first time in another body, in her main body that is actually outside the simulation. And she had over her head like a crystalline kind of like a really, really complex crystal VR headset, for lack of a better term. Um, and it'll give you an idea of like what state she's in when she was in this body, purportedly, is that she was able to be like, I don't like this, waved her hand, and it's appeared, and then waved her hand again and created a like a goggle headset, and then put that on, and then projected back into the matrix, back up through the center of the earth, and then back to her body, and has done this multiple times now, and is now convinced that that is her real body outside of this simulation. And if this account is true, then she says, yeah, like a direct method of, you know, ascending or like going up the levels, you can eventually go beyond the installation and then get out. That is one way. But the other way is to do what she did. And so she's had the intuition that, or just the knowledge that if she stayed in that body outside the simulation for too long, that her physical body would die and she wouldn't be able to go back. And probably if she did go back, then she would have to re-enter it and then, you know, go through this whole thing again. And then who knows if you'd get back to the position of actually knowing and being able to do anything about it, of course. And so, yeah, if that's true, then that means that there's a way out of the simulation, and you don't have to wait till you can die. You can just choose. And then, you know, obviously at a point of your time of your choosing, like maybe in older age or something like that, you're like, it's time to go. But, you know, that there is a choice. And so there's a little glimmer of hope there, if you like. And it's interesting because Direct actually brought up the Book of the Dead, the Egyptians' knowledge of what to do after you die, and it's all about going through the underworld. And you know, they have a complicated system of like gates and pathways and all this sort of thing, but essentially that's the way out. And I was thinking about this discovery of this person's firsthand account. Take it with a grain of salt, as you will, but it does make sense. Like everything that we're taught about heaven being upwards, hell is below your feet. You want to ascend, you don't want to descend. You know, everything about it is bad. You hear accounts from all different sources, even nowadays, about people being taken down there. Like that, what's his last name? Guy who's on the confessionals. But yeah, like being taken down there and being shown like, you know, that's where they run things in the underworld. And that, you know, if you do want to suppress a being like us, like we do have a central source of being, which is a pure spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it. And then you have this overlay of a vehicle we're traveling in, which is the astral body. And then you have your etheric and physical, which is separate. If you were recycling consciousness through the astral body, then not only would you implant, you know, false past life narratives of, you know, everything is going up and out into the cosmos, you know, and you would also want to have memories of like, or, you know, instilled emotional diversion from any going within. So there's a lot of programming that I've found. If this is true, then a lot of the programming about that downward being bad kind of starts to make sense to me. And I've scheduled a talk with her, and I'm going to talk with her this Friday. So if you have any questions for her, if you're interested in the subject, then I can ask on your behalf. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Real quick, where did you say that she perceived her actual real physical body was with the VR headset? Where was that? In the center of the earth or something?
Yeah, so that was like the entry point, and outside of that, she was in a VR headset. So she actually does recount of exploring in the limited time she had before her body died, that she would go out and then she perceived what she describes as the multiverse. And so she, from that body in that place, she had access to basically infinite realities. So it's a situation like that.
Okay, got it. Thanks. To a couple of your points, and welcome to the space, Heidi Hollis. Do not let Ulrich know you're here because he's going to want to come up and press you for any interesting information you might have. So, Joseph, you mentioned the Egyptian Book of the Dead. So it does make sense to me that if you are affiliated with the gods of the Egyptians, that you would find yourself in the underworld afterward trying to navigate it. Because I think this is going to be all about allegiance and alliances with these creatures. So that actually makes sense to me. Um, Remember, we have also the Apocalypse of Paul, where when this whole thing, I don't think anybody actually knows who wrote it. So we can't take it. We have to always take it with a grain of salt, of course. But it's the whole idea that is somewhere in the Christian scriptures about Satan actually fighting with, I believe it was Archangel Michael, over Moses' body. And I guess Moses had done some rituals and stuff when he was in Egypt. Perhaps that's the lore. And then we have the Apocalypse of Paul, where once we exit our body for the last time, there's actually representatives from the underworld show up, and representatives from the above, the actual heavenly realm show up. And the idea here is that they are looking inside of you to see which one you vibe with. And it's really the only way to explain it. They're looking to see if they have any ownership over you. And I'm going to welcome Heidi to the space because Heidi actually got some information about this, and it has to do with us and our allegiance. And if we have allegiance to the aliens in this life, which a lot of people do, have allegiance to the aliens. We want to apologize for them. We want to make excuses for what they're doing. We want to bend over backwards and say things like, well, if humans are abusing animals, then that's what the aliens are doing. So what's the big deal? And things like we can't know anything about them. That kind of stuff is just carrying water for the aliens. And if we continue to do that, we might end up finding ourselves along with the Egyptian Book of the Dead in the underworld with the aliens. Jump in, Joseph, and then we'll go to Heidi.
Sure. Yeah, I did want to make it clear that according to this account, and according to a lot of other research that I've done, like the actual, I guess the outermost layer of, just under the earth is actually where all of these beings are inhabiting. And, that's why all of the alien ships go under the water and into the mountains, and then the installations are under the ground. Like, that is definitely not a place you want to be. And you don't want to go there, and you definitely don't want to pledge allegiance to any entity that originates from there.
Yeah, good tips. There's also this idea of the second heaven. You're going to hear Tony Merkel talking about it a lot, that they actually own the space right above us as well. And I have actually seen what kind of looked like a grid to me. I don't know if it was a grid, but being out of body in the astral space and seeing what I believed at the time when I saw it was a grid around the earth, almost like I don't know if I had approached it, if I'd have gotten zapped, Joseph, or not, but it looked like some kind of a grid or some kind of containment system, and we lost Heidi. So
Yeah, I guess
yeah,
I'll
good
respond
stuff.
to
Very
that.
interesting. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, so that grid would be the and apparently it's like in the ionosphere. It's actually not that far up in the astral, and yeah, that grid would be the barrier in between. So all of these dimensions are actually like the installation in the astral is not far up, and all of these dimensions are actually contained not that far up and contained around the Earth, and that would be different from the actual the moon structure or anything out, and that if you actually go project beyond that, which she did. We're just waiting for Heidi to connect, so I'll just finish this up. You actually go, to, past the planets, you go past the asteroid belt or whatever. There is actually like kind of like a surface that's in a dome-like structure surrounding our solar system, and what we perceive as like infinite space and galaxies and everything like that is actually like an illusion, like a tesseract. That like a mirrored tesseract, when you put your phone against the mirror and you see infinite like U's in your phone, it's like it's kind of like that. As to if that connects, if you go through that, if there's some sort of connection to other installations or other matrices, simulations, I have no idea.
Yeah, that actually wouldn't surprise me at all, Joseph, if our physical reality isn't exactly what we believe it to be at all. Heidi, welcome to the space. I'd love to hear from you. Our topic right now is the soul-sucking aliens and how they have the ability to take us out of our bodies. But more importantly, I'd love for you to tell the room about the message you received about the afterlife and how these things could actually own you when we leave our bodies, because that's on topic.
Hey there, it's good to jump in here with you guys. I thought I could get in here sooner. So thank you, thank you. Um, and it was odd. I could hear you guys the whole time, but you guys said it looked like you lost me. That's so weird. But, but anyways, yeah, as far as these god-awful alien beings, I'd come into some information um, through the alien beings that I had the most contact with that spoke against the abductions, that spoke against the infiltrations into people's psyche and their souls. And I couldn't understand what was, and also informed me about the shadow people and Hatman and how they were intertwined with this whole mess and absorbing people for what they are and who they are. And I had a really difficult time because at the moment I wasn't looking into matters of the soul, and here I'm talking to alien beings that did nothing but speak of that, and how the abducting type of alien beings, which again I didn't have a really horrible opinion of them at the time, even though I belonged to a UFO discussion group at the time. It wasn't my own. It was one that was formed by a psychotherapist who was dealing with, had several patients who had post traumatic stress disorder and didn't know that they were having alien abductions. She hypnotically regressed them, and one by one, they all revealed that it was, this horrible thing going on. And she decided to bring them together. And I think I was like the first outsider that came into their group. And because I had just witnessed several craft at the time, craft that was answering me, that was dropping down, responding to me, and not just lights in the sky, but actual craft. And I couldn't understand why on earth, what is happening here. And so if some time into it, I had interactions with positive alien beings, and when they started talking about matters of the soul, it was it was jarring. I was more into, I'm having interactions with craft, and I dropped going to church. I dropped going, like I was in college. I wasn't looking to hear some alien beings talk about uh such a thing. Like if you are having the kind of interactions with being abducted, um, and which a lot of these people in this UFO group that I was part of, it was horrific. It was astoundingly horrific what they were dealing with. They're sleeping with guns and knives and you know telling how they're going to destroy these beings if they come and grab their child again. And I'm like, wow, this is really disturbing stuff. And then I watched these people change. Uh, the experiences didn't change necessarily. Sometimes, they'd have a good what they called a good experience, and but it didn't sound good to me that these same beings that were violating them to the worst extreme um, showed them how to write their language. Whoop-de-doo. And then the next time they're abusing them again, I I was like, and they started saying, "Wow, we're special. We've been chosen," and it became, "I'm not abducted. I'm a contactee." And I'm like, "Whoa, you're the one that has this special gun. You showed us a picture that you sleep with under your pillow. What?" And oops, am I still part of here? Oh yeah. And so it was odd. And so I'm hearing here I have an encounter with my college roommate with this more positive being who is saying those are not good alien beings and they're causing confusion for a reason. I again had no thought behind it because I just was watching. People are doing what they have to do to cope with this horrific thing, and they're like, no, they're being manipulated. Um, and it was explained to me that if these people did not get rid of this type of alien contact that was happening to them, I'm sorry, contact, abductions, abuses, and things that were going on with them, it carries on into the next life. And so they needed to learn how to get rid of them now. And I was instructed to instruct them. And it wasn't something that they were fully open to, unfortunately, at the time. Again, I was a college kid, and these people had this group for I don't know how long before that, and they were growing and figuring it out on their own, and being taught to accept it. And I think that was part of the psychological training that this psychotherapist had was to get these people to be comfortable and accept their position and being no longer a victim but a survivor who is learning to cope and get along with these beings. And I think that's an element that doesn't get spoken of enough. That a lot of this acceptance of what has been going on with people is because this was encouraged to be accepted by the therapists who went into these fields, into these corners, hoping to help, of course, but also at the same time disregarding what people have been experiencing that's been horrible. And they're them being told, well, it's because you're not working through your trauma. These beings are there to, show you they're related to you or they're teaching you something. It might come off as being horrific, but look at this person over here. They sleep well at night now. And I'm watching this going on and I'm like, holy smokes, and I had to learn to bite my tongue because again, it's a whole group and I have not been abducted. I had craft answering me. I had positive alien being talking about God and Jesus and to invoke his name in the presence of aliens. I'm like, how's that going to work? I couldn't understand it. I'm like, what do you mean to say the name of Christ and these aliens will listen? Like, wow. I so and to talk about the way that they would essentially be enslaved and the abuse would continue not just in this lifetime but into the next if people didn't know how to cut those ties and they were getting preoccupied with trying to figure out what exactly happened that triggered these things to come their way. And that wasn't always important. It doesn't matter where it happened, is what I was told. You break the bond. I don't care if you're related to them. I don't care what they're telling you. If you tell them don't come back and they come back, those are not positive. That's not a good experience. And the way that they're able to remove people from their bodies. I had also had encounters with the more positive beings where I would go there uh, eh, like a bilocation, which is something that I do in this body with regular everyday people, which is I did not know that word until just a handful of years ago, bilocation. Um, and now I've learned that, quote, the saints did that. I'm not Catholic. I didn't know about anything like that. So I would get emails from people who would say, "Oh my gosh, you are real." I'm like, "What?" And I saw you over here. You helped me with this or that. And sometimes they send me a photo and I'd say, do I look familiar? And I'm like, kind of. And their stories might sound a little familiar, but I couldn't understand why I was going over there. So this bilocation thing, it is something that we're capable of as humans. And when we're having dreams, a lot of people say we are bilocating to different dimensions and whatnot. Um, and these things are intervening, they're grabbing and taking advantage. And we think that they have no business interfering that way. But the thing is that there is a thing called um, it's like a granting of permission. And who the heck would grant permission to be abused? Nobody would. They are stealing and fooling and messing with people's understanding of what's in front of them to do a little nod or open up the door. Oh, there goes my sister outside the door. That simple thing. That's not accepting evil, but they're camouflaging it to be something. It's like they've done this in movies where you know, um, a devil gets in the bed with you and you have your way with them. And then they're like, ha ha, it's me. That's what these things are doing. So it's not you that's at fault. These things are pulling a lot of garbage on people. And because of that, they are not responsible for these things infiltrating like that. And they do have the opportunity, even if they cross over and have these things coming. How can I say? If you find yourself in a hell-like space, and it's because of these things having tricked you in that regard, that's not your fault, and you will have an opportunity to leave that situation. And I was shown that directly. So as horrifying as it is, and people will try, and they have such a hard time getting rid of these things in this lifetime, there is another way, and that will happen, but just to try your best still in this lifetime. But there is a technology where they're able to grab people and force a bilocation or taking of the soul out of the body to do things to a person. I did learn that as well, but it's a horrific thing, and again, it is a trick for you to let your guard down in order for it to happen, and only just the one time, something simple in a dream or whatever it was. And they got the permission that they wanted, and you could keep smacking them back with prayers, blessing your home, and make it more difficult for them. But it's they'll try another trick and then get their way back at you, and you just bless your place again, keep your prayers, because these things are relentless. They are so angry when people figure out how to push them away. But man, it takes a whole lot of effort just to get one little person. Isn't that something? So we are something and a force to be reckoned with. And I always like to remind people of that because they have to do so much. Get a whole team, get a whole craft and paralyze you, come in the middle of the night, and then try to convince you, we've got you, you can't do anything. And then they get you on board. I mean, it's a whole lot. So I say own your power, call on the opposite opposing forces, which is a huge, huge, more powerful group. But these things are all ancient. They know their parts, their roles very well. So never take a step at them, like with your own solo fist. Call on the powers that be, God, Jesus, the team of beings that work for them that don't look human. They look alien too, a lot of them, but you will know them by if they can if they can tolerate the name of Jesus in their presence. Isn't that something? I used to think that was so ridiculous. Like, what do you mean, Jesus and the presence of aliens? Well, the Vatican knows. They know. They know what's really going on. They, the angels are not, with the fluffy wings always and fluttering around, looking just like us. The demons, those are easy to spot out, but gosh, they look an awful lot and act an awful lot like that. Some of these abducting aliens, the way that they do things to people. So I hope that was answering some of the question that you asked.
It did, Heidi. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thanks.
your perspective on that, because that's what we're talking about today. But Heidi, since you're here, you know, since you're here, that I have to ask you, the very last time we had you in a space, we were touching on some topics that you were not yet ready to discuss. I see that Doomer has jumped up here. He is not going to let this go. He's definitely going to press you on this opportunity since you're here. Do you remember, Heidi? I think you said you had proof of God. Didn't we name the space proof of God? And that it was something that you were going to discuss, but you weren't quite ready. Do you remember that?
I'm sorry, I don't remember anything. I'm just kidding.
Oh, she's lying. Ulrich, she's lying. You're gonna have to go after her. I don't have the heart for it.
So there must be somewhere in the universe like a Heidi tracker, because as soon as you came up to speak, I had like 20 handlers blow up my phone and say you have to figure out what the proof is of God, and I was forced up here, Heidi. But I wanted to know before we I mean, everybody here, we charged everybody. They're like, we need to know what the proof is of God. They're waiting for it. But before we get into that, I wanted to know what's your sense of uh where humanity's at right now with you know disclosure or wishful thinking disclosure. Let's say 0 to 2 years out. Do you have a sense concretely? And if not, just speculate irresponsibly. What are you feeling is going to be happening?
Well, the moment all the people that have done something illegal and covering this are ready to go to prison, that's when we'll get disclosure.
So you really feel like we're going to get some rounding up of some regular hominids, and then we'll get some UFO files disclosed?
I think they'll put out the worst of their photos like they did before with the Tic Tac. I mean, what else? I don't. I have no faith in the system. All these decades and all the money and all of the enjoyment that they've had having technology that we have no clue about, they're just going to give it up. And out of the kindness of their hearts, I don't believe the powers that be. I mean, I just don't. And so and I think they're enjoying dropping the little tidbits that they do and orchestrating things and probably sit around watching a scary movie and say, "Hey, hey, let's come up with this one next time." I don't believe a word of any of it. I don't believe anybody that's on their payroll either. I
Yeah,
just don't. I
and
don't.
most of us don't. but
Yeah.
but so you don't see like anything. Of course anything could happen, but you don't feel like we're on the dam is breaking, and they're going to bust out the aliens and the grays, and you know what I mean?
Right after they admit to the military abductions, sure, that'll come next.
Right.
I don't think so. I don't, and if they do, it's gonna be some little dust bunny of bones somewhere. Oh, that's already being done. It's like they've got walking, talking beings. I just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that.
So,
It's ridiculous.
but you know like for this space, everything when it comes to consciousness transfer, possible soul transfer, um obviously that would have implications for us if we're facing some sort of impending cataclysm. Do you have any of your experiences pointed towards some sort of soul harvesting? Are we reaching a nuclear crisis where like there's mass trauma? Are you allowed to talk about that stuff? Do you have any thoughts?
I can tell you, I from my own experiences, from the beings that I worked with and spoke to a lot. Um, they spoke of this as being of a time of change. Everybody's speaking of an apocalypse. I know it as a time of change, and that there will come a shifting in the waves, the vibrational waves of how everything is held together, and it will shift, and as that happens, everything will hold together differently, including ourselves. And some people might not even be fully aware that they've left their bodies, and souls will be gathered, and the earth will be allowed to heal, and then souls will be returned to be born here again. Um, and it's just something that the planet does. It's I was also told, that there's a lot of push for from different alien beings to preserve the earth, put all your efforts into that. But the more positive beings said that's not their focus, because the earth knows how to heal itself, and it will. But what's important here, the more positive beings will focus on are the souls. That's all that matters, are the souls that are here, and allow the earth to recycle itself will happen naturally.
And last thing, I want
Mhm.
to make this a little here in UFOX. A lot of us have contracted AIDS, artificial intelligence derangement syndrome, and I've been trying to give myself AIDS. So I've been playing this game with my AI. And if you consent to these rules, you can play this game with me. It's just going to be really short. Uh, it didn't have a title, so I called it That Weird Conversation Game. Rule number 1, only respond with one word. Rule number 2, be simple and direct. Rule number 3, that's my favorite rule, hold nothing back. And then rule number 4, say apple anytime you're being forced to say no, but you want to say yes. And this theoretically would, leave you free to not break any security oaths, and you could just say apple. Can we just do one question?
Heck yeah.
Or a couple questions, and you can say any other word and just break out of the game. I'm not going to trap you
Yeah.
in this AI simulation forever. Okay.
It's okay.
I promise.
It's all good.
All right. Is it possible that when it comes to, and we're just talking hypothetically here, right? Nothing's binding.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that if we were to be talking about a hypothetical proof of God, that we would need some sort of communication from the other side as proof of God? In other words, from the afterlife.
I don't think so.
You think so?
I don't think so. I think
You don't
that
think so?
no, I think that
And okay,
enough has been given here already.
enough has been given. And is it possible that the souls, the consciousnesses in the craft are part of the proof of God?
It's interesting. I just spoke about this with something. Okay. It could be.
Wow. You could have said apple. I really appreciate that.
It's funny. It's funny.
Can you help me out here? Give me just one category of question, and I'll make that the last question. What else should I ask?
Anything you want, and you could ask whatever you want. I'm not on a time constraint right now.
Okay, wonderful. Let's forget these stupid 4 AI rules. Um, I'm done with it.
Okay.
Is the proof of God something that, in order for everybody to be guaranteed to know this proof of God, um, that in order for everybody to experience it, they'd have to transition, or is this a proof that could feasibly be disclosed to everybody here within, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I think it would be disclosed to everyone because it wouldn't be in the institutions, and that's something that I personally have fought for to not be controlled that way because
And
it's not
are we
okay.
talking about like Vatican institutions?
Oh, we're talking about all of it.
All of it.
All
Um,
of them, everything that you can imagine.
so it could be something like that's just archival, like a book or a relic, or is it experiential?
Uh, Scientifically and physically here, that I think anybody would be able to understand, where you don't need to have a PhD to get it.
Hmm.
So I think that's been the problem, that we've given away our discernment and gave it to people who say they know more than we do. Like, don't trust your own eyeballs. We need to call the guy with the degree to explain what we just experienced. I think that's silly. Um, I don't think I don't think that middle person is needed, but some people need that to be able to get to the next level, to have that person say, "Yep, that's so." Well, I've got that information. Um, I've got
They
that
need
piece
like
of paper to
they
say
need
it's
like
so.
an appeal to authority is what that is that they're
And
looking for someone else to narrate for them versus them being comfortable in their own narrative.
Yeah.
and very last question for the witness. Is this proof location dependent or is it entity dependent?
I don't think it's either. I think it's just opening up your own ears, because if I can make the difference that I hope to, things got delayed because of some more than deadly situations that came up. Um, Otherwise, I would have been speaking with you guys sooner. But yeah, I'm hoping to be able to pull some things together within the next couple of months. Um, as long as nothing gets in the way again. It's been a horrible time. Let's put it that way. But everything's okay. Everything's fine, and the positive side is a lot stronger than the negative side. And
Because
having
we need to have 51%, right, of more selfless action as
yeah.
part of, like, it makes a difference, right? Whether we're 51% selfless versus 51% selfish, God seems to care.
Yeah, and I apologize too, because I don't like to be cryptic, but I don't regret like dropping some hints to you guys either, because I think it's important, and I don't want information to end with me either. So it's like just to let it know that there's something there and there's connections that are understood, um, and it's like, just for the powers that be too. I don't plan to name names either, because I don't find them to be that important as much as they think they are. Um, I don't trust people that have their hands in other people's pockets. I just don't. I don't think that's not a godly way. It's not a good way. This life is too dang short to think that that is the way to be. I feel sorry for them, because there is such a place as a hell-like place, and they're guaranteeing themselves a nice little cozy spot. So I
By the
just,
fireplace.
yeah, with a
Yeah.
lot of amenities.
I encourage everybody to listen back to the recording to Heidi's chuckles. I think the chuckles might be disclosure,
Oh
might be
gosh.
cosmic disclosure.
It,
And
you know,
and
it,
Heidi, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I for my whole career in talking about these things, being a regular on Coast to Coast since I was in college, I was always called out for, gosh, she seems to be having a good time talking about the devil, and it's just me. That's just how I've always been, and it's like, how else can you discuss something that's so dark and so heavy if you don't have a sense of humor? And I like talking about things the way I would tell my friends, because I don't want to freak them out. I don't want them to run out of the room, and I'd rather them be more curious and sit down and have a coffee and have a conversation. Because if I sit there with a flashlight under my chin, that's no fun. I just think it's about being real, about being who you are, and being genuine to who you are too. It's like, I don't even like writing a book with fluffy words. I don't use in my conversations with friends. That's it's talking above where you're at. I'm a therapist. I don't like talking to my patients that way. And I used to get into trouble in college because I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. I'd rather talk on a level so people get it. And yeah, for something, just being myself, if the chuckling and whatnot. And if you heard my nieces and nephews, they're like, Heidi is the biggest laugher about most everything. I just always do. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Thank you,
good.
Heidi. And no further questions, Detective. Thanks for the back
Really,
and forth.
I am stunned.
Ulrich,
I am
are you
stunned.
serious right now? I cannot believe he let you off like that,
I mean,
Heidi. I
Crazy.
an,
That's crazy.
short of like a liter of LSD and some sodium pentothal, I don't think I can get any further, to be honest with you.
What?
Yeah, I completely disagree. She
Ah,
wants to give us at least some, she wants to tell us something.
I do.
Something.
I do.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Can you? So I kind of came in late in the conversation. Did you just say that like good is stronger than evil?
Oh yes.
Can you explain to me what your logic is behind that and how you can never
Actually,
believe that?
Trousen, before we go off topic, just hold your question real quick. Put your hand up,
Okay,
maybe.
no worries.
Yeah, perfect. Before we get too far off topic, I want to ask you, Heidi, about the current topic, which was the proof of God. Are there other people aware of the proof? Other people also aware of what you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing that really sucks about it because they would rather peddle their narrative than be honest. Though it's right, they have access to it, but they'd rather sit there and say, "Gosh, we're just on the hunt. Gosh, we need better equipment. Maybe we just need to talk to the right people." And I'm looking at their latest posts, just shaking my head like we've talked. You know already. You have access to this already. And I'm talking about the biggest names in this field. And I'm just it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing and it's sad. And I just I don't know. I don't know why. I guess those checks must be big that they're getting because I can't understand why, or they don't want to be wrong um, with their narrative. Like they had an hypothesis or something, that a thesis they wanted to put out on the table, and they want to prove that one thing, and they're going to die on that hill. And I just don't get that's ego. That's a lot of ego. There's a lot of things I don't understand why people do what they do. Um, I don't know if they're getting harassed, threatened, but I'm thinking to open that door to even getting harassed or threatened, they took a check. That's what I think. I think their ego and their bank accounts got inflated along with their heads. It doesn't make sense otherwise. You really want to help a person, you really want to help mankind, you really want to figure out a situation, you just bare your chest on it and say, this is for everybody. This is for my kids. This is for my country, my state, whatever. I just it breaks my heart, and I don't get it. So yeah, there's a whole slew of people who know, um, but don't want to put their name to it. Now, why wouldn't they want to if it's something so positive, so very different and scientifically provable that they already have access to, but they won't share?
So I think part of it has to do with the resources. And sometimes when people are trying to amass resources, it's so that they have the capacity to fight against those large groups or entities that have resources that can be used to suppress them. And if you open your mouth and you're in a position where you don't have the ability to defend yourself because you don't have the resources and the means, it's a lot easier for them to shut you down, isolate you, and effectively knock you out of the game, right? So some of those people, I think, are trying to position themselves so that they have the resources they feel is adequate to fight those battles. And I think that that's part of it, right? Like we do live in a capital society that is based around monetary gain and resources, and where you sit in that position is how many people you can employ to fight with you in that kind of sense. So you can see like Elon Musk, for example, has billions of dollars. He can create Starlink, which can help militaries in like Ukraine with his resources that are helping people to advance a cause, right? But we don't have an Elon Musk in the UFO field that is putting billions towards propping up voices to go and fight for the field to be advanced. So those smaller people are trying to generate a bit of revenue so that they have the means to continue to fight. They have the fuel in their car, so to speak, that it's going to be able to drive down the road and get to where they want to go without running out of gas halfway and then them having to stop, right? Because that
Well,
doesn't help.
Star Captain, um, just do me a favor and put your hand up because we did have a couple people wanting to also jump into the conversation. Um, I think I hope you're right. I hope that you're right that there's at least a couple people in the upper echelon of this pyramid who are trying to save us, so to speak, right? But like Courtney Marchesi would say, the people Heidi's talking about, I mean, they took the deal, right? They took the deal. That's basically what's happening. Could we have some people trying to use this knowledge for weapons or to fight or, some type of other strategy we're not even aware of, to go against the negative side of the phenomenon? Quite possibly. But for the most part, they took the deal. Let's just be honest. That's what it appears to be. And I think that's where we're at. Heidi, you said something about they would rather peddle their narrative. What's the narrative they're peddling without naming any names?
Oh, there's so many different angles. It's like, there's that disclosure bandwagon a lot of people have jumped on, and it's a distraction from a lot of people, not as a whole, but individuals that jump on it like this is the goal right here, and it's like, but you have in your backyard a piece of what you need, and they just look at my left hand, not my right hand to people. Like it's their priorities are just wrong, and I think these are godless people. I do. I'm like, you're saying you're a Christian. Do you know how real God is? Do you know how real uh, darkness is that will take you because of the crap you're pulling? I don't. I can look into these people's eyes and I just don't get it because they know better. Um, so yeah, they are really trying to just. I've got kids. I got to pay things. Okay, if you got kids, um, work your job, but do you have to sell your soul too? I think they like the attention. I don't know. I can't understand always the drive, but a lot of these people are very wealthy. I know, and yet they want to have a camera in their face. So I guess it is like must be really boring to be so wealthy, but it's so much more fun to be recognized, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what drives these people. And it's like I don't want to bash anybody, and it's not my goal to, because they're not that important. They really aren't. Because the bigger picture are the people and matters of the soul. That's what this place is all about. And there's something here that is infiltrating and masquerading and making people doubt their neighbor, their friend, their family member about what they say they're experiencing. And their souls are getting snatched. It's like, what more could be more important? I don't get it. I don't get it. But you hear uh, way up high, different people are talking about angels and demons. Go figure. Talking about the Bible and in regards to UFOs. This has been something people like me have been talking about for decades already. And it's like but we were made to think that, oh, we're just those nutcases out there, Let's and now that's in the government's hands, let's change the whole topic and title. UAP, like, oh come on, it's UFOs, and um, and it's at the front door of DC because we've been pushing so freaking hard and speaking so loud and not stopping that they had to pay attention and then change the narrative and get people to run on this wild goose chase that's just hysterical sometimes and make stars out of people that are never going to tell you much anything. And but believe those strangers on the biggest numbers with the biggest television shows or whatever instead of your best friend. Why are you going to believe these people? I don't get it. And you've got somebody that's crying their eyes out or begging to be heard, and but we'll give the credit to these people that are sitting there in their in their little fancy homes. I am the authority. Well, who the heck are you? I've been in this for decades. I've never seen you. Oh, you're hiding behind something. Oh, now it's a, oh, you got papers to tell you, read this script. Got it. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But what's important is to keep your eyes on the prize. It is a battle over souls. And that's the whole thing. These people that are in high positions within the government have come looking for help from people like me because they are getting harassed by those darn little tricksters, these demonic like alien beings that can walk through walls or look like shadow people or Hat Man, and they don't know what to do. I'm like, well, it's the battle of all battles, and they know this.
How do you
This
know
is
what a
what's
demon
going on.
looks like?
It could be,
Trazen, please,
I'm
Trazen.
just asking a question. Nobody knows what a demon looks
But
like.
yeah, actually, some of us do. I'm
mm-hmm.
gonna go
That's
ahead
just your
and
opinion.
Trazen. If you're going to keep interrupting, I'm just going to drop you down to listener. If you're welcome to stay here and put your hand up like everybody else.
Okay.
I think Heidi. So again, and you don't have to speak to this if you're not comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what my back channels are saying. My back channels are saying that these people know exactly what this is that we're dealing with. But despite the narrative, that they're peddling to the community, they know exactly what it is, and perhaps they have chosen the wrong side, and they might be into some agreements that they can't even get out of at this point. Like I've talked to some people who say it's too late for them. I don't like that thought process, that it's too late, because I don't think it's ever too late. But that they might find themselves in a compromised position, not only with other humans, but also with the NHI in some of these agreements that they've made. And I think some of these people didn't even realize what they were doing until it was a so-called too late. What are your thoughts on that?
It is never too late. You're right. And these things, the way that they try to lock people in, it's so ridiculous. They try to convince you it's too late. I don't care what these people have done, but up until the very last minute, even when they've crossed over, you can always call on Christ to help you and get out of the situation. Um, these things try to create contracts and people that are not always people, and it's like getting tricked, getting pressured, parents willing to sacrifice everything for their kids, and their curiosity got them pulled into a conversation and it led to another conversation, and now they know too much, and then it's like, hey, you want to do this fun project over here, we'll pay you this amount. Oh gee, we can't do that, but you already signed here, so we're going to have you do this or we'll destroy you. So people get screwed, they get stuck. I get it. um and I think that might have happened to some of these people that I know. I don't know their situation, but I know there's there's regret. I could tell there's regret. Um, but there's always help. There's always a way out. And it is God. It is Christ. And I'm not talking about sitting in a church till your legs get numb. I'm talking about really understanding that connection. Really understanding and not being so hard on yourself that it's got to be perfect. It is, we're spiritual beings, for crying out loud, and I get it. It's not easy to understand. But here are things walking through the walls of your home and grabbing your soul out and just having their way with you. And well, so what is that? Why are they so interested? Why are they trying to get the control of this thing? Like, we are these vessels that are here to learn certain things. And we've been a bargaining chip for by the powers that be, that government wise, to allow some of it to happen. And but there is a God who sees it too, and there are positive beings who work for that God, who are here trying to empower us to fight this battle, because it is an individual battle. It is something that we have to own up to and understand, to that we are connected to a whole, and that whole is God. And Yeah, I mean, it's just such a it's such a circle of events, and it might seem really complicated, but if you could just imagine two sides of a fence, what side are you on? Some of these people, there aren't many people who would decide to shoot themselves in their own foot. Not many, unless you're a draft dodger. But it's like, there's not many people who would do that. So obviously, they get trapped into the wrong things. And then they explore and expand in that because they feel like, well, I'm gone too far now. So I get it. But I can tell you, that's not the case.
Yeah, and better to make your choices, especially for some of these people who might have made a bad decision or bad choice or gotten into some agreement like you were talking about. Now that they understand and realize that they're in this agreement and they're in a bad spot, it's so much better to come forward with it now than to wait until you're exiting your body for the very last time in this life and you get snatched up by the aliens. I mean, who wants that? I know some of these whistleblowers, or at least the lore says, that a lot of these people, I said whistleblowers, I probably shouldn't have said that. A lot of the people with the high clearances, let's say, with some secret knowledge, actually get threatened with the afterlife. They are promised sometimes rewards in the afterlife or the next life, if that happens to be true. And they're also, threatened with punishments in the afterlife and even extending to their families if they don't keep holding water for the aliens. So it gets pretty dark and pretty deep pretty fast. But I just think that if you have the opportunity to come clean right now in this life, you're just much better off that way. Before we get to the hands, I want to ask Carolyn, Ulrich, and Direct if you have any questions for Heidi or oh, the hands have disappeared, but why don't you all go first and we'll get to the hands.
No, I'm just appreciative that Heidi's here. Thank you. Because I know we talked in DM past 24 hours, so I'm really, really excited that you're here talking about all of this. So thank you very much.
No, thanks for inviting me. I was like, oh, cool. So it's nice of you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled you're here as well, Heidi. The only last question I had was you mentioned they know. I think you were talking about the elites, or you said that with confidence. I wanted to know how do you know that they know?
And what do they know?
Yes, and that too.
Well, I don't want to make it seem like I have the full enchilada of all answers with everything. I'm speaking in regards to the truth that I have that has had direct input from these people and what it is that I'll be stepping forward with soon. They had a lot of interaction with this information and have had the opportunity to support it more, but for various reasons they did not. But it's I don't even know how to say. It was more fun for at least one of them to go in a whole different direction and gathering and putting out information with many other people that they're really on the hunt for the truth. And if we only have this bit of information and it was presented to them, so there, why so much effort in the wrong direction? I can't tell you. I don't know. I have no idea. So it's odd.
What do you mean by that? It was more fun for them to go on the hunt. Help me just
Yeah.
understand.
Well, it's just like, and this is not it, but like, say if they're like, gosh, we could just pull down a craft out of the sky or something, if we could just get that, and then a craft is handed to them. Well, here, and they're like, oh, wow, but I'm not gonna do that. That's it's that abrupt. It's that materialistic too. It's like it's weird. It's like, what? Like, hold on. Why are oh my gosh. What is the purpose then? Why steer in a different direction? But it's I don't even know how to say it. It's not the full picture of what people hope for. It's like I don't have a craft to present. I don't have an alien to present. What I have is a connecting piece um, that has had a lot of input from a lot of people in high places. And it was very desirable, to put it lightly. And it's been I'm glad to have the freedom to present it on my own, to be honest.
But you're not
Because
talking about like a metamaterials keychain that you just have dangling
I
in your car keys that transforms into a UFO.
no, it's not that.
Okay.
But it's something I think could make a big difference in the world, and I think it would help a lot of people to move closer to the understanding that there are other things here. So much so that a lot of effort was put in to go through an institution to be
When
the holder and owner of that information.
when you were answering the question about, these people know, when you
Mhm.
started saying they they have, you then said information, but I could have been hallucinating. My mind was hearing an N. It sounded like you were going to say they have NHI contact. Is that what you were going to say?
No,
No.
no, not NHI contact. No, but there's something that shows NHI hands in something, um, and that's just it's absolutely verified because there's no other explanation for it that could exist, um, and it's been absolutely verified by top ranking people.
Mhm.
And it's important and it's like I personally struggled with the information and how to approach and I did everything I could to disprove what was presented my way and um it's been a few good years and I just yeah, I'm glad I took the time that I did because literally just 2 days ago more information came um and I needed to take it took my breath away. I had to catch my breath on it because it's like, are you kidding me now? Like it can't get any weirder. It can't get any more profound. And I worry too that am I going to present it the right way? I don't know. It's like this is not something I'm used to discussing. It's not something that I'm quite ready for. I never feel I'm quite ready for, but I also know I can't sit on it forever. But I need to be as well prepared as I can, and you know, people take it for what it is. I don't have all the answers. I don't.
And are we
I just
talking
don't.
about Rh negative bloodlines, something genomic?
Partly, yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you. I've exhausted all my questions.
That is not possible.
He's
I know it's
lying.
not possible.
He's lying to us. He's lying.
Do you see the good cop, bad cop routine we have here?
I do. You guys are good at it.
Yeah, we are. Um,
Mhm. I
well,
appreciate the questions because it's actually it gives me a chance to vent a bit too. It's been really frustrating several years, and I got really quiet online with these past few years because of what came my way. It was disturbing uh, personally for myself, where I just everything I thought I understood, I I didn't know it. I didn't know this stuff. I didn't. I keep repeating, I don't know this part. I don't know what on earth what this could all be. And I took my time to get to understand. And yeah, so it's been a wild time. I could tell you that. Everybody's like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "Well, I've been doing a podcast, doing coast to coast, but I had to really take some time to understand what everybody has been looking at and decided to not put it out to the world.
And are you worried about eugenics, like a eugenics, biased skew that people are going to take it in a Hitler direction?
I worry in regards to that in a way. I do. But not fully, not fully. But anybody that can get a leg up on somebody, something, or a society, they will do. And I'm just one person, and I don't have an army behind me. I am just trying to be honest and present what I understand to be true. And yeah, so it's just like when took a step forward and speaking about shadow people. Hold on, I'm about to lose you guys of my. Um, can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. Um, it's just like when I took a step forward in regards to the shadow people and Hatman topic. That was something nobody had ever heard of, and then I'm talking about how it applies to the whole alien conversation and the conflict and the positive and negative alien beings. When I wrote the book, The Secret War, I'm just a college student going, oh my gosh, I just have to be honest, and I did, and I took the chance and took the step forward, and now it's something that essentially goes viral every day. Who would suspect? And on the largest platform of paranormal talk with Coast to Coast AM, so I just have to trust my gut, and that's all I can do in regards to this new information I never thought I would have come across, to be honest. So it's a leap of faith to be honest.
Thanks
Well,
so much, you guys.
Yeah,
I know he's not actually finished, Heidi,
that's
but
okay. That's okay. He kills me.
we're talking about going for about, I don't know how long, you said you didn't have any time restrictions, Heidi, but
No,
I think we're
okay,
going for about 15, 20, 25 more minutes, maybe.
sure.
Oh, Direct does have a question. Pop in Direct, and then we will be getting to the hands. Carolyn, you're gonna have to look at the hands. I don't see hands.
Um,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Direct. I'm
oh
sorry.
no, I think Gabe and Bartime had their hands up first.
I only saw yours, so Carolyn, go ahead and direct the hands if you want to.
Yeah, Gabe had his hand up, and so does oh God, Barnabas. Sorry.
And
I,
Joseph is before me.
Awesome.
oh,
I have a question. Um, First, I do resent a tiny bit the godless comment on atheist, but I don't think that necessarily means that you're a bad person.
Gabe, you're rugging, so I don't know if you want to come back up. Just give it another shot, and you can pop right back into your spot. Just real quick, let's also try to stay on topic. I don't want to argue with Tarazan whether or not I've seen a demon, so we don't want to go down those roads. Let's try to wait a little bit of time for Gabe to come back up. If not, we'll just pop him in at the very next opportunity. Who's next, Carolyn?
I'm
Oh,
sorry, Bartimaeus.
Actually, Joseph had his hand up and he was before
oh
me.
my gosh. See, we can't even see Joseph.
See, I can't even see Joseph. Bless
Joseph,
you.
jump in.
Go ahead.
And we lost Joseph. It's not going very well.
So,
Bartimus and Direct are going to have to flip.
No
yep.
problems. Look, rather than a direct question to Heidi, I want to put a question to the room. There's something I've come across that I have only done a casual perusal of, but I want to know, have people in the room heard of a group that's been dubbed the Collins Elite? Now, what I've learned, there was a good documentary done by the Fall Brothers a number of years ago on the Collins Elite. They were formed somewhere around the same time as MJ12. I don't know if it was under Truman or Eisenhower, but it was a group that consisted of military scientists and theologians, and it was to investigate whether the whole UFO phenomenon was a threat to US national security. Now, the conclusion of their investigations that they reported back to the president was to have nothing to do with it. It is completely demonic. That summary I find very interesting. However, so the story goes, the US government dismissed their findings and actually made alliances with them. But I just want to know, has anyone else come across information regarding this group?
I certainly have. Yep. I think most of us in the space have probably heard about the Collins elite and the fractioning and how some of them actually seem to make agreements with some of these entities for sure. Heidi, did you have anything on that?
Uh, um, you know, I didn't earlier know it by that name, but I was familiar with their understanding and how a lot of these people in power and government have concluded this to be the case. I think it was Nick Redfern that wrote, what was it, the book was Final Events or something like that? Is that where, um, I think that's where the people in the government went and sought help because they were getting harassed, wasn't it? I think that's where Nick had found that some of these people in the government were first seeking counsel from people in this field because of that. But yeah, they know, but still, greed and the need for technology didn't stop them from taking advantage of this. So
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, the back channels of ufology, the back channels say that, and I'm going to use the term our government just as very, very loosely. They know exactly what this is, and we're going to go right back to the angels, fallen angels, demons, basically entities, good and evil, as we see it as humans, good and evil entities in a battle for our souls. And it is what it is, and they all know it. They're not going to tell us. They're not going to say it out loud, but they all know it, and yeah, they don't want to say it. Again, they've
We don't
taken the
have a need
deal.
to know because it's just our souls.
Right. I
And
mean, it's just this minor, small little thing that the aliens can actually snatch out of our bodies and do with it whatever they want, perhaps even up to recycling us.
I
So,
think that's
oh,
their
Ophelia, you're
potential. Sorry.
rugging a little bit.
Oh,
You're
darn.
rugging.
Darn.
Oh, yeah. Come back, Ophelia. Drop down. Come right back up. So that's that's what it is, you guys. Nobody wants to hear it. They want to say, "Oh, you're a Christian, so that's what you think." No, that's not what I think because I'm a Christian. I think that because of the absolute shit show that I have been through for the last 3 years has proven that to me. I'm convinced of it, I should say. I'm convinced of it. Um, I think we have direct. Is direct next? And did we fully answer your question, Bartimus? So I think we have direct. Go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I wanted to address Heidi. First of all, I really appreciate your work. I've listened a lot to you, and I just wanted to give you a little anecdotal story of something really interesting that happened. So I was working with a person who was having unwanted phenomena in their life, and so a couple of sessions in, I said, "Well, describe this being," and she goes, "I can only I can sketch it." And she literally drew Hat Man, a sketch of Hat Man on a piece of paper. And I had just become aware of you at that point and aware of Hat Man. And when I Googled Hat Man and showed her the monitor, she almost came out of her chair. And so I thought it was very interesting that with no knowledge of that particular form of being, involved in this kind of thing, she perfectly sketched Hat Man. And then when she saw the feedback, she almost fell out of her chair. So there's something to it.
Yeah, and to know and understand that this information, yes, I presented it to the world, but I have always from day one, but it gets pushed to the side, or a lot of different shows that I'm on don't want to discuss it. I had a Jesus encounter who told me to finish writing my book in regards to this positive alien contact I had, who spoke about matters of the soul and how to get rid of negative beings, and about these demonic shadow beings and Hat Man, and what they really were and what they were all about, and how this is the battle of all battles. And then I put in that book, The Secret War, I had seen so many things, and I'd stepped away from ideas of the church and whatnot, and to come full circle, because oh, and I bashed people who in the book, saying how I think people are crazy to say that they saw Jesus somewhere, because he was a historical figure to me that's supposed to come back one day. I wasn't looking for him, and then I have an encounter with him, and he's like, you need to finish writing your book, and don't worry what other people say, know that I'll be there to give you the words. I mean, there, this is a real thing. This is really going on, and playing into that same thread, the next things I'll be sharing, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than anything I could have ever imagined. In this whole series of things that have come my way. And I've never been one to hesitate to put something out there, but it's because of the people that got their hands involved. I had to take some steps back. They freaked me out a bit, to be honest. And I'm used to understanding what comes my way and what's important to do. I've not had people come from the outside and put their fingers in and know so much. Um, so this is real. Hat Man, shadow people, these negative beings taking souls to go and experiment on them or do certain things, or you cross over thinking you're going to go to the light and it's them. This is the battle of all battles, and I really hope people grasp that the interdimensional beings that they're talking about in DC are these. It is these shadowy things. It is Hat Man. It is these aliens that work right alongside of them, who can transform into them. Who you'll see them in the same experience. It's horrific. So yeah, it's. I'm not just I'm not a magical worker. I am doing what I volunteered to do, because and I've shared this, I think, on the prior space. I remember before I was born, I know what I came here for. Um, and pieces get revealed as they're needed, but I didn't. I don't have all the answers. I just have the parts that I know to be true, and I focus on those. And the warnings are here. They are apparent now. Things are stepping up, and the infiltration of the shadowy beings, the Hat Man. I was told it would get to such a level that it would be as I see it now. And again, I'm in college, and no one is speaking about these things. It's like naming your teddy bear at home. Oh, my teddy bear's name is this, and this is what he looks like. And I go to talk about it to the world, and thousands of people recognized it. I had no clue. Why would I think anybody understood what I was talking about? I would have never guessed. I'm introducing two whole new topics. Um, and it's never stopped. It's never slowed down. And the problem that I have with people who take on the subject, shadow people and Hat Man, I know they're getting threatened, and I know these things are going to get them at some point. Um, I was told to take this essentially to carry and to put out there in a certain way. So many people are like, "Oh, there's nothing to fear with these things," or "Oh, they're just your guardian." I mean, there's a lot of mixed messages, and it's causing harm. And they're hoping to get the next TV show or film. I don't have that. I've been just trying to put it out the right way, and people need to know. So, yeah, I'm sorry that happened to your friend.
Thank you, Direct and Heidi. Carolyn, where are we at? I see Ophelia's hand.
I see Ophelia and Star Captain. Ophelia.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sorry for earlier. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you. I love Heidi. She's my heart. I wasn't wanting to come on this platform much, but when I saw her on here, I was like, of course, the day that I'm like, hey, I don't like this platform, Heidi's on here. Heidi, I just wanted to say, right? Carolyn's laughing because she gets it. I just wanted to say that, in to response to Doomer, there were people who eventually took on a Christian lens with this, who worked in the government, and they faced retribution. They faced calls from people that sounded essentially like demonic humans, laughing about how they were about to die when they got cancer. My dad was one of them, and the moment any of these guys start going the route of, I think this is spiritual and it's about Jesus and demons and angels and potentially other pan-dimensional entities, because that's the word they use, because interdimensional makes it sound so much nicer than pan, which means all of the spectrums of dimensions that they could go through. Anyways, I just want to say that there were people who did care, and those were a lot of the whistleblowers who aren't here. This has been repackaged as UFOs when it is about your soul. And the people who are in the highest up orders know that. And the people who want to talk about it ain't really here anymore. Their kids are here trying to tell people, losing their minds, and pretty much giving up. Because it sounds crazy. Because people assume that you believe this because you were a hardcore Christian your whole life. No, I've been in the occult. I've been Buddhist. Been all kinds of stuff. Tried it all out. And then when I had an actual experience, and that shadow ended up at the foot of my bed. And years later, I prayed to God finally what it was. And within 24 hours, the answer came back, the devil. And through prayer, that was answered. You know what Jesus told me, Heidi? He said while weeping, why doesn't anybody pray anymore? And that's all I got from him. Why doesn't anybody pray anymore? I'm right here. I am right here. Why don't they do it? They act like I'm not here, but they don't even try. Basically was the feeling I got. It was so sad. And so there are people who have fought. They're not here anymore. But you are absolutely right, Heidi. And I really hope, and I'm sorry I'm so intense, but it's because it is a fight over people's souls, and we're supposed to be warriors, and sometimes I'm a really pissed off warrior. But thank you for being here today. We hope you come in more because we need you here. Absolutely.
And Ophelia, your family has a military background. Did your dad or anybody else ever mention, because the military is known to know the proof of God? Did he ever mention anything like that? We're trying to squeeze it out of Heidi.
So he was in charge of the original Skinwalker project, which you all know as the Dulce base rumors. That actually, if you read Skinwalker's Hunt for the Skinwalker, they mentioned Dulce was the original Skinwalker project, aka shadow beings. They do hitchhike, they are demons, and there is a god. And they talked about angels all the time within programs.
But do you know what the smoking God gun is? Smoking
That's
God
between
gun.
you and God. How about you pray about it? How about you ask God? It's not for me to tell you. This is what I'm saying is it's an individualized process. If you pray, maybe you'll get the answer. It's not for me to tell you, bro. I'm sorry, but it's not.
But do you know?
Actually, actually, Ophelia, to be fair, you missed a lot of the conversation. We're actually talking about the military having proof of God and the upper echelon of ufology having proof of God, like substantial, according to Heidi, scientifically provable proof of God. So Doomer was just kind of pressing you on that to see if your dad might have had any information there. Heidi, you want to respond to Ophelia? We've got about 5 more minutes, and then I might lose connection. I might not. We can keep going a little after that. We'll see what
Sure.
happens.
Oh, yeah, no, Ophelia, thank you so much for sharing that. That was really moving. And oh, you know, you've been down in the trenches, and your father has too. And it's so gut-wrenching to sit here and scream from the highest mountain that you possibly can, and not touch everybody, because it is so painful and it's so real, and people are still sitting there twiddling their thumbs trying to figure out if they have a soul or something silly like that. And I'm like, there's something looking at your soul like it's a steak, and they want to devour it. And to have people in high places who could absolutely save so many people by allowing that information of proof to be presented to the world. Wow, we would be so united if they would just drop that ego and drop the hoarding of information. We would get so much further. And that's why we're here. Everybody that's talking today, and yourself, that that's it's all about trying to be there for the right things and for the right moments to spread the right message. So thank you.
Carolyn, what do we got?
Star Captain.
Ahoy. One good way I think that we can parallel the comparisons of good stories and bad stories is when you look to the ocean. There are dolphins who will, in times of need, help people. There are also orcas that can sometimes help people, sometimes eat people, sometimes be indifferent. There are sharks that will just eat people if they're available. In space, there may be things of a similar nature where there are benign, there are things that are indifferent, and things that are hostile towards us. And based on their morals and ethics, we may see them as demonic or angelic in a certain context. But if there is a greater context of our evolution into that atmosphere, perhaps then we might look for benign entities that seek to empower us. And perhaps those might be representatives of that greater force that people are seeking, that might inspire us to not become prey, but become stewards of that domain as we have become upon the land of the earth. And in that sense, perhaps our evolution as a civilization, moving in that direction towards one where we are responsible and assertive of our narrative, and not being food, but rather being the guardians of the realm that we create amongst the stars. That those things that are demonic will be warded off by what we bring into that realm.
Thank you, Star Captain. Do we have any hands? Do we have no hands? No questions?
No hands.
I do need to
Well,
drop down, but I want to say thank you for letting me come up here, Carolyn and Fringe. And Heidi, thank you for letting Fringe force me to torture you. Yeah, it was an awesome space.
I'm glad I got to drop in. I didn't mean to take over chatting so much, but I appreciate you all giving me the chance to share a bit. So thank you.
no, Heidi, jump in anytime. It was right on topic too. So it was actually perfect coming up. Well, we have no other hands, so I was going to either end at 5:15 or take a chance of losing Wi-Fi. So I guess we'll just go ahead and end it. I think this was an incredible space today, Carolyn. I hope you feel
I
a little bit better, Carolyn.
I actually
Maybe.
do. Yeah,
Good.
no,
Good.
actually I do. I do. It's comforting to I appreciate Direct and everyone who gave me some words of comfort. Hold on just a second. I'm on the phone. Just a minute. Give me just a second. And sorry about that. And no, I just wanted to say thank you. And actually, Heidi, some of the things that you were saying and Dreamer was asking you about has greatly helped, because because you missed the first part of it, but I've had this existential crisis, and it was just not going well for me. So that's one of the reasons why we did this space. So what you had to say was as extremely helpful. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate it. Yes, I do feel much better, and it this will pass. It's just taken me just a little while. So it may take just a little while longer, but thank you.
Feel free to reach out, Carolyn. Sorry that you've been having a hard time, but truly, send me a message.
Oh, thank you. I will. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. It was just good for me too. I need to vent every so often myself. So
All right, you
Thanks,
guys.
Chris.
Thank you, Star Captain. Thank you. You know what, Star Captain? You're quite the warrior. I appreciate you. I love all your ideas.
For
Thank
real.
you to Direct, Ulrich, Bartimus, actually everyone, Ophelia, everyone who came up and contributed to the topic. And Heidi, thanks for dropping in. We really appreciate it. I think this was a really good space. I think it's really important for us not to get too far down the black pilled road of thinking that these creatures can do anything they want to us at any time. And it's really easy to go there when they can snatch our souls right out of our bodies. It had me questioning my own faith, had Carolyn questioning her faith. And I'm sure it's happening to a lot more people than just us, because this is not something I was ever taught in church, right? Hey, by the way, the aliens can just snatch you right out of your body and do whatever they want. That's not that I wasn't taught that in church. So I think it was a great space, and I appreciate everybody who came up and contributed, everyone who listened, everyone who asked a question. And hopefully we'll get a couple more of these in here and there before the end of the year. And I appreciate all of you. And until next time, good night.
Good night.
And you know what, Carolyn, I wanted to, maybe I'll do that later. I wanted to let everybody know, we have a website with a lot of different resources and a Discord too. So hit up me or Carolyn if you want to hop into there, or if you need resources, especially if you're getting snatched out of your bed by the aliens. And we will now enter the awkward pause before we end the space. Good night, everybody.